T live. Is live. Is Twitch twitchering? Is live. Is Twitch twitch? It is twittering. Let's check. That's Foxhole. Is twittering? Come on, are you twittering? You know you are. Just prove it. All right. Is the book of the face facing the book? It is. And is the tube ubing? What? It's like they changed the... YouTube has changed its layout. Yuck. From bad to lamer. Alright. We're really low on time. I'm way behind. Oh, it's time for the intro. All right, let's do it. So behind. Here we go.
Welcome to the 9dNation.
בראשית ברא אלוהים את השמיים ואת הארץ.
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Thousands of years later, it was Wednesday at 11 p.m. Central. Get your passport ready and be prepared to declare to the customs agents any edible plants or miscellaneous worldviews. You're now crossing into the nation with no denomination.
Welcome to the 9dNation. The nation with no denomination. I'm your host, G. Ross. I'm out of it. I just am. It's just how it is. Nova, good evening. All right, give me just one more second and we'll get this row on the show. All right, what this is, in case you're new, or maybe you're not new, maybe you're old. Is that really what I mean to say? This is episode 74 of season 2 of 9dNation. We have, in the first 73 episodes, gone through Genesis chapter 1 through 40, and we have learned, don't breed with demons or drink blood or murder. Abraham's great-grandson Joseph was falsely imprisoned in Egypt, and the warden put him in charge of his own prison. And he could interpret prophetic dreams. Now, what happens next? Funny you should ask. I know a guy who can tell us in the original Hebrew what happens next. So let's give a listen.
פרשת מקץ, פרק מ"א. ויהי מקץ 2 ימים ופרעה חולם, והנה עומד על היאור, והנה מן היאור עולות 7 פרות, יפות מראה ובריאות בשר, ותרענה באחו. והנה 7 פרות אחרות עולות אחריהן מן היאור, רעות מראה ודקות בשר, ותעמודנה אצל הפרות על שפת היאור. ותאכלנה הפרות רעות המראה ודקות הבשר, את 7 הפרות יפות המראה והבריאות. ויקץ פרעה, וישן ויחלום שנית, והנה 7 שיבולים עולות בקנה אחד, בריאות וטובות. והנה 7 שיבולים דקות ושדופות, קדים צומחות אחריהן. ותבלענה השיבולים הדקות את 7 השיבולים הבריאות והמלאות, ויקץ פרעה והנה חלום. ויהי בבוקר ותפעם רוחו, וישלח ויקרא את כל חרטומי מצרים ואת כל חכמיה, ויספר פרעה להם את חלומו, ואין פוטר אותם לפרעה. וידבר שר המשקים את פרעה לאמור, את חטאי אני מזכיר היום. פרעה קצף על עבדיו, וייתן אותי במשמר, בית שר הטבחים, אותי ואת שר האופים. ונחלמה חלום בלילה אחד, אני והוא, איש כפתרון חלומו חלמנו. ושם איתנו נער עברי, עבד לשר הטבחים, ונספר לו, ויפתור לנו את חלומותינו, איש כחלומו פתר. ויהי כאשר פתר לנו כן היה. אותי השיב על קני ואותו תלה. וישלח פרעה ויקרא את יוסף, ויריצוהו מן הבור, ויגלח ויחלף סמלותיו, ויבוא אל פרעה. ויאמר פרעה אל יוסף, חלום חלמתי ופוטר אין אותו, ואני שמעתי עליך לאמור, תשמע חלום לפתור אותו. ויען יוסף את פרעה לאמור, בלעדי אלוהים יענה את שלום פרעה. וידבר פרעה אל יוסף, בחלומי הנני עומד על שפת היאור, והנה מן היאור עולות 7 פרות, בריאות בשר ויפות תואר, ותרענה באחו. והנה 7 פרות אחרות עולות אחריהן, דלות ורעות תואר מאוד, ורקות בשר, לא ראיתי כהנה בכל ארץ מצרים לרוע. ותאכלנה הפרות הרקות והרעות את 7 הפרות הראשונות הבריאות. ותבואנה אל קרבנה, ולא נודע כי באו אל קרבנה, ומראיהן רע, כאשר בתחילה ויקץ. וארא בחלומי, והנה 7 שיבולים עולות בקנה אחד, מלאות וטובות. והנה 7 שיבולים צנומות דקות שדופות קדים, צומחות אחריהם. ותבלענה השיבולים הדקות את 7 השיבולים הטובות, ואומר אל החרטומים, ואין מגיד לי. ויאמר יוסף אל פרעה, חלום פרעה אחד הוא, את אשר האלוהים עושה הגיד לפרעה. 7 פרות הטובות 7 שנים הנה, ו7 השיבולים הטובות 7 שנים הנה, חלום אחד הוא. ו7 הפרות הרכות והרעות העולות אחריהן 7 שנים הנה, ו7 השיבולים הריקות שדופות הקדים יהיו 7 שני רעב. הוא הדבר אשר דיברתי אל פרעה, אשר האלוהים עושה, הראה את פרעה. הנה 7 שנים באות, שבע גדול בכל ארץ מצרים, וקמו 7 שני רעב אחריהן, ונשכח כל השבע בארץ מצרים, וכילה הרעב את הארץ. ולא יוודע השבע בארץ מפני הרעב ההוא אחרי כן, כי כבד הוא מאוד.
Okay. That's the end of verse 31. And what that is our story continued in Hebrew. Now, most of us are fairly fluent in English, so what I'm going to do is read an English version. But I got to catch up with the chat. I said hello to Nova, but I feel like I got to say it again. Hello, Nova. Hello, Rev. CDP4JC has ushered in the Avocado King sticker. First time in a while. Thank you. May your camel always be humpy in the sand. Avoid the crack. Yeah, that's a nice ancient Middle Eastern proverb. Black Yoda's in the house. Central1234 is in the house. Black Yoda is co-host. We're just going to get some preliminary readings out the way and get our festivities started. Bruce Q. Wayne is in the house. The Batman. I'm going to do the New American Standard 1990 whatever version. Bruce Q. Wayne. Let me read it right now. Let me just do it. Let's do it. Let's jump right in. You who've been with us, or those who haven't in a while, or those who are first-time watchers, viewers, participators, we've got this down to a science because we like to save like 2 hours for discussion, or at least an hour and a half. And at least 20 to 30% is relevant to the material. All right. So if we trust the scholars, the translators, and by the way, I'm going to read every word whose first-time appearance we haven't already covered. In depth, I'm going to go into it. So I kind of, by and large, the translation, as we've gone through before, we've scrubbed it pretty hard, I think. So, now it happened at the end of 2 full years that Pharaoh had a dream, and behold, he was standing by the Nile, or the Yeor, I probably pronounced it terrible, river. There's 64 examples in the Old Testament, or the Law and Prophets of Yeor. And behold, from the Nile, 7 cows came up. To me, it's more like they float up out of the water like the skinny ones. You know what? I actually have. Here, we're going to watch this. This is abnormal for us, but a special little treat. I'm like, let's visualize this. So I'm going to bring in visual assistance. Check this out. We'll just watch like, I don't know, a minute of this.
I'm standing by the Nile. 7 healthy cows graze peacefully on the banks. But then 7 horrible, sickly cows come from the same river. The most wretched I have ever seen in Egypt. Suddenly they begin to devour the healthy cattle. And yet the cows remain as sickly as before. And then I wake up.
Is there more?
Yes. Another dream always follows. 7 ears of grain, full and golden, grow from a single stalk. Suddenly 7 ears, hardened and scorched, spring up on the same stalk. And swallow the 7 good ears. All that remains are shriveled grains unfit to eat. And nothing else.
Nice little visual, right? I didn't want to take away your visual, but it was just such a nice little piece. I thought we'd show it. So behold, from the Nile, 7 cows came up. Now, there you saw they were already... Now, it says come up. I feel like it's like comes up out of the water the way it hit me. But they may have walked out of the water, but somehow they're from the water, I think. I have to get some scholars in on that one. Fine-looking and fat. Bari, well-fed. 14 examples in the Law and Prophets of that core word used. And they grazed on the marsh grass, or the ahu. That's the letter A and the letter H. Strong vertical barrier. So you could see reed. CDP4JC says, great animation. Yeah, I liked it. I liked how it had a little bit of an Art Deco look, I guess, if that's the right phrase. Now, this word, ahu, only has 3 usages, but StudyLight.org had a really good breakdown of how it was... let me get the background music going. It was strong vertical barrier based on the way the letters are structured. Then behold, 7 other cows came up after them from the Nile. You notice those ones came out of the water in the animation, so they kind of agree with me. Ugly and thin, or dock, smashed. It means kind of like mashed flat. I'm thinking like the way you'd make paper. 14 examples in the Old Testament. And they stood by the other cows on the bank of the Nile. Then the ugly and thin cows ate the 7 fine-looking and fat cows. Then Pharaoh awoke, but he fell asleep and dreamed a second time. And behold, 7 ears, shibboleth, or river branches. So, I mean, that's where the word comes from. But in this case, it means, because it says shibboleth of grain. So 7 kind of thingy-bobs of grain. So ears would be good. Came up on a single stalk. So like sprouted out. Kane, that's a beam. 62 examples in the Old Testament. It means, kane means a beam. So a single beam, single stalk, kane. 62 examples. You can see the screen, right? This has got my notes so you can see what I'm saying. Plump and good. Then behold, 7 ears, thin and scorched, or shadaf. I'll remind you, this is the first time we've seen that root word. That's why I'm covering it. Hot wind that scorches crops. It's a very specific word. It's like a desert word. You know, you think of in Dune, they have 83 words for sand. You know, we always hear the Eskimos have 100,000 words for snow. Clearly, you're going to have a specific word for, the shadaf. Everybody knows. You learned since you're 2. That's the wind that will just tear your crops up. Thin and scorched by the east wind, or the kaudim. That's a headwind that often comes from the east. 69 examples in the Old Testament. So 7 ears, thin and scorched by the east wind, sprouted up after them. And the thin ears swallowed, or bala, use up. 50 examples in the Law and Prophets. Swallowed the 7 plump and full ears. Then Pharaoh awoke, and behold, it was a dream. Man, he must have been relieved, right? Now in the morning, his spirit was troubled, or pa'am. This word has a very strong connotation from what I could see in reading up on it, of like, almost like what we used to call Chinese water torture. When you got that rhythmic pounding that just drives your spine crazy, like you get all nervous. It can mean a heartbeat, a horse galloping, or a repetitive bell ringing. So like pang, 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 pang. So he woke up feeling like that had been happening to him. So he sent messengers and called for all the soothsayer priests, or kartom. That's wizards. 11 examples in the Law and Prophets, or Old Testament, as some may call it. All the soothsayer priests of Egypt, and all its wise, or kaukom, smart. 137 examples of that word in the Old Testament. All its wise men, and Pharaoh told them his dreams, but there was no one who could interpret them for Pharaoh. Then the chief cupbearer spoke to Pharaoh, saying, I would make mention today of my own offenses, or kate. It's a crime debt due to a crime. Yeah, let me remind you about that thing where you almost killed me. 34 examples in the Old Testament. Pharaoh was furious with his servants, and he put me in confinement in the house of the captain of the bodyguard, both me and the chief baker. Remember that guy? What a creep. Then we had a dream one night, he and I, each of us dreamed according to the interpretation of his own dream. Now a Hebrew youth was there with us, a servant of the captain of the bodyguard, and we told him the dream, and he interpreted our dreams for us. For each man he interpreted according to his own dream, and just as he interpreted for us, so it happened. Pharaoh restored me in my office, but he hanged the chief baker. I have a question about that at the end. Then Pharaoh sent word and called for Joseph, and they hurriedly brought him out of the dungeon. And when he had shaved, or gaulak, shaved clean, 23 examples in the Old Testament, when he had gaulaked, or shaved himself and changed his clothes, he came to Pharaoh. Pharaoh said to Joseph, I have had a dream, but no one can interpret it. And I've heard it said about you that when you hear a dream, you can interpret it. Joseph then answered Pharaoh, saying, It has nothing to do with me. God, specifically Elohim, will give Pharaoh an answer for his own good. So Pharaoh said to Joseph, In my dream, there I was standing on the bank of the Nile, and behold, I'll read like that guy. 7 cows, fat and fine looking, came up out of the Nile, and they grazed in the marsh grass. Then behold, 7 other cows came up after them, poor. This is Dowlao. This is the tent door hanging down as a curtain. There's 8 examples in the Old Testament. So it makes me think of like stringy hair over their eyes. You know, like why does that mean poor? And very ugly and thin, or rock. That's the word for baby grass that's just poking out. There's 3 examples in the Old Testament. So you can see that's thin. Such as I had never seen for ugliness, or roa, just a word for ickiness. 19 examples in the Old Testament. In all the land of Egypt. And the thin and ugly cows ate the first 7 fat cows, yet when they had devoured them, it could not be detected that they had devoured them, for they were just as ugly as before. Then I awoke, and saw also in my dream, and behold, 7 years of grain. That's a dream within a dream, isn't it? I just noticed that. He awoke and saw also in his dream. It's a dream within a dream. Let's take a quick look. This is verse 21. Jinn, Bubba Hub. Little quick check. Jinn 41:21. So he says something like Vayikas. Then I awoke. So I awoke. Va'ere bachalomi. I saw in my dream. So he woke up and was still dreaming. That's Inception right there, boys and girls. I just caught that. I never noticed that before. All right, then I awoke. I saw also in my dream. And behold, 7 ears of grain, full and good, came up on a single stalk. And behold, 7 ears withered, or sanam. I couldn't find anything on that word. So, withered, whatever that means. 7 ears, something and thin and scorched by the east wind. We know from context it's probably withered. I'll buy that. Sprouted up after them. And the thin ears swallowed the 7 good ears. Then I told it to the soothsayer priest, but there was no one who could explain it to me. And Joseph said to Pharaoh, Pharaoh's dreams are one and the same. God has told to Pharaoh what he is about to do. The 7 good cows are 7 years, and the 7 good ears are 7 years. The dreams are one and the same. The 7 thin and ugly cows that came up after them are 7 years, and the 7 thin ears scorched by the east wind will be 7 years of famine. It is as I have spoken to Pharaoh. God has shown Pharaoh what he is about to do. Behold, 7 years of great abundance, or Saba, comes from Saba or Sabea, which is to be sated or satisfied, and that has 99 examples in the Old Testament, are coming in the land of all of Egypt, and after them 7 years of famine will come, and all the abundance will be forgotten in the land, and the famine will ravage the land. So the abundance will be unknown in the land because of that subsequent famine, for it will be very severe. Extinction event, scare event is necessary. Right. Am I right? All right. Let me ask some study questions, and then we'll just about... let me give you a new summary. So I'm going to update our summary. Don't breed with demons, or drink blood, or murder. Abraham's great-grandson Joseph was falsely imprisoned in Egypt. And Warden put him in charge of his own prison, and he could interpret prophetic dreams. This got him an audience with Pharaoh, and he warned Pharaoh of a 7-year famine in 7 years. I'm going to shorten this next week to don't breed with demons or drink blood or murder. Abraham's great-grandson Joseph was falsely imprisoned in Egypt, and he ended up interpreting Pharaoh's dream, predicting 7 years of feast, then 7 years of famine. Here are my 3 study questions, plus anything anybody wants to comment on, and then I'll get the link going. Is the cupbearer smart to not directly thank the Pharaoh? At first I'm reading that, and I'm like, you're mentioning how you got off scot-free. Well, I mean, he probably was innocent, honestly. I think the implication in the story is that the Pharaoh had pretty good judgment. This particular Pharaoh. But he's like, you're not going to stop and go, by the way, thank you, Pharaoh. And I realized probably not, because you don't tell the Pharaoh whether or not he did well. You just matter-of-factly say, and Pharaoh had my best friend killed, but not me. Anyway, moving on. So that's what I think is going on there. Why do we hear the dream told from narrator or audience and then repeated from Pharaoh to Joseph? I thought that was interesting. And you see the 7-year cycle. Same thing that Jacob had with 7 years with Rachel, 7 years with Leah, 7 years of extra work with Laban. So 7's already coming up a lot. With that said, get your comments, your questions, your discussion points ready, because we're about to launch into the discussion segment. Meet.jitsi. I've got to turn off. I have to turn off the video capture device. Oops. Otherwise, Jitsi will be like, no. It's not working, man. All right, I'm going to put in the chat the link. Then I'm going to catch up with the chat. I'm going to put this in the chat. Okay. So now anyone who wants to come in, we know our co-host Black Yoda is going to run on in with, he started with a really good joke last time. And I want to put the pressure on. CDP4JC says, you learn something every time you open the word. Amen, brother. I have noticed that. Is that Wesley Snipes? Amenhotep was mentioned. This is folklore about a major event in history. Nova says, we can place a date on this history. The daughter of the Pharaoh and what else was happening in the world at this time. Yes. Excellent. All right, now, with that, we greet Black Yoda.
Let me undo. Damn it. All right. So I see you only read half of that.
It took 25 minutes.
No, you said you were going to do that last week.
I have the other half prepared, but it would take another 20 minutes.
No, we're fine. So how's your week?
It's really good, brother.
What's up?
Thank you, yeah. How about yours? Did I ask you that? I didn't ask you that yet.
Just dodging bullets like anybody else. You know what I mean?
They're throwing so many bullets at us now.
Dude, it's almost ridiculous.
It really is.
I think my biggest curveball for the, as far as the learning curve has been my perception of what's been going on in the Middle East with Israel and Palestine. I'll wait to talk about that later. But,
I always appreciate that. However, feel free. I mean, some of this stuff goes back this far,
No, I realize that.
Yeah.
But the things that I've been going over lately have really changed my perception about Israel. And I'll just leave that one right there for now.
I heard someone say that, and this was anecdotal. It was on one of the millions of podcasts that we all listen to. And a guy was talking to a guy who was talking to a guy. And he was like, yeah, people in Israel are like, yeah, we think that was a Netanyahu false flag. And there's no evidence in that discussion, but it's a perception that somebody was sharing. So I was kind of mulling that over.
At this point, I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, when was the last time you've heard any of the left side of the mainstream narrative? They're not really talking about Russia and Ukraine anymore. It's almost like they're trying to sweep that little fiasco under the rug,
Yeah, there's some people that are saying this is a stretch, but Ukraine is being kind of prepped and the way cleared for like a migration. Have you picked up on that?
The one that I learned about was companies like BlackRock. They want to move in and rebuild and pretty much take over the Ukraine and run it as if it's like one of their, facilities or something,
They did something like that to like Serbia when they split up Czechoslovakia and had all that going on. Some of those
Well,
cities are now, bumping.
Yeah. But BlackRock looks at it like as a way to make more money.
Oh yeah.
Because all
Yeah.
these other companies that they have investments in, they're going to start getting contracts to rebuild, and they're going to profit off of that. All that destruction and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And Ukraine doesn't have any more people to fight. And the
Nah,
ones
they're-
that do get into the lines to fight, the first chance they get, they surrender to the Russians because they know they're going to die. You know what I mean? Like, they don't have hardly any weapons left. I mean, it's a joke. And so then as soon as they realize, okay, we went a little too far, bit off a little more than we could chew, here you go with this whole Israel situation with Hamas,
Yeah, you're a third of the way to a world war just with that much land and dispute happening at the same time.
For me, it gets a little more complicated than that because I
Yeah.
started looking into the history of Palestine and what happened during World War II.
You sent me
And-
that good link.
Yeah, and me personally, I don't think I don't think they should be fighting with Palestine as much as they should be having beef with Britain, because the British lied to both of them and played them stupid. But in all fairness, the Palestinians were already there before the Jews came, or the Ashkenazi. That's how I look at it.
The British are interesting. Real quick side note that's going to seem a little bit like a tangent, but I think it's related. I work with a lot of people that come over from India, and I work with a lot of people that are still living in India. And every now and then I'll pick up on, you horrible American colonialists, and I'll be like, now hold on a second. I'm not the one, because they're like, you made us speak English. I'm like, no. That wasn't me. That was the British. They did the same thing to us.
Mind them, that's the reason why we had 1776.
Right, exactly. CDP
We
4JC.
fought with the same people,
Look who just came in, Black Yoda. Oh, and froze.
Hello.
There we go. Hey.
what's up,
The feedback's not too bad, is it?
No.
No. It's
Okay,
5x5.
Good. Black Yoda, great to see you. Always good to see you, Mr. G. Ross.
You too,
Yeah,
sir.
that's a good reading. Have I talked to you at all about Hallelujah scriptures?
I don't recall that.
I'll have to send you a link. It's pretty neat stuff. They actually translate the Bible from Hebrew straight over to English.
Ooh.
So in some cases, you actually have words that can't be translated. So they're not necessarily in Hebrew. It's interesting. It's
Cool.
really interesting, but it's a straight translation, so there's not as much lost, but it is a little bit challenging because you have to think a little bit more and work a little bit more at understanding what it is that's putting through. But it's good stuff.
Nice. I want to read.
Yeah. You can actually you can go to the website, and I'll drop it in the chats. But if you can't afford a Bible, they'll send you one at no cost. But they are totally 501c3, so anything they get, they use to continue to spread the word. So it's pretty cool.
Who's
Cool.
this?
It's Hallelujah Scriptures. Let me jump
Yeah.
over here to grab the link, and I'll drop it in the chats. So
Hey, DM me the link because I can't see the link, or I can't see the
Okay.
chat.
all right, I'll DM it to you.
All right,
Let me
appreciate
dig it up real quick. I'm thinking I'm still gonna stay on here with you guys while I dig for it.
Yeah, and I took a note too, but it would be great to put in the chat if you. But yeah, that sounds really right up my alley.
Oh, you'd love it. Let's see here.
But yeah, for a long time, we're taught that the Jewish people over in Israel are like God's chosen, and I'm now starting to see it differently. And it's because of revelations and stuff like that. Did I ask you to look up this last week? I don't remember.
No, between last week and this, you talking about Revelation 3:9?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have this thing I do, and I love how I'm feeling like we're hosting a party, and I'm the host, Black Yoda and I are the hosts, and all of a sudden I'm like, I know who's at least. I know there's several factions out in the chat, and so I'm on alert. I want us to talk about this, but I'm on alert, and I'm like, so Truth Social, iPod's pretty active over there, and he jumps right into this topic constantly. It's like his main topic, and he kind of decried people, and I'm one of these. Like I immediately go, Revelation 2:9, Revelation 3:9, and I'm like, I think Anka Vanka had a great word, which was JINO, Jews in name only.
Yeah, I mean, because 3:9 basically says he calls them out on pretending to be a thing, but then forgives them.
Wait, where does he?
He basically says something along the lines of "I still love you" or something. You know what I mean?
I always miss that. Let me dig that up.
It's like the last sentence
in Revelation 3:9.
I'm gonna go put some hot water in my tea.
All right, I'm gonna look it up. Revelation 3. He says, no. He says those of this. Okay, he's talking to Philadelphia. I put before you an open door no one can shut because you have little power and kept my word. You've not denied my name. I will cause those of the synagogue of Satan who say they are Jews or not, I'll make them come and bow down to your feet. And he's talking to he loves the Philadelphia church. So
okay, I dropped it in the chat. So.
Yeah, I saw that CDP4JC. Thank you for that.
It's some good stuff. I mean, my wife and I, we discovered it about 5 or 6 years ago, and we got one and kind of set it aside. I was like, man, this is hard. And I've been trying to get back to it to read it more. But one thing that really stood out to me was they had little handouts that they ended up getting to me as well, and it was entitled "What in the World is Going On?" And these things were written probably 2017, 2018. But one of the things in there that was really cool that they pointed out was the word pharmakia. And they pointed straight to vaccines, and it was like, holy crap.
Right.
So they were actually talking about this stuff prior to the whole pandemic.
Wow.
Out of scripture, it was pretty powerful. But yeah, just the word pharmakia and how that was, bad stuff. That's it. So it's crazy, when you look at it, just and you look at, not to get too off topic, but one of the biggest money makers out there is, of course, the pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah. It's funny.
Right?
You're putting in my mind this notion that, the Bible says pharmakia bad. And the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds look at that and go, I believe I will. Like it's like, you tell a kid what not to do and they run and do it.
Yep.
It's kind of human nature. So you've got greedy capitalists or greedy whatever you'd call them, and they know, they've got access for hundreds of years. They're the first people that get to read ancient wisdom, like the knowledge of pharmakia is a dangerous power. And so they're like, let's dabble in it.
And I mean, they've gone to such an extent, we don't even have an clue. I mean, we do somewhat, but most people don't, of the whole thing of processing and creating, a whole nother species and mixing DNA, and with these shots. It's insane. But I would ask someone in the chats if you could drop Black Yoda that link into his DM. That would be easy on me. That way I don't have to dig for it and get.
You know what? Let me do it right now.
Okay, cool.
And the reason why I ask is because, like, currently I can't see the chat. I'm not on my laptop. I'm on my phone.
Yeah.
And if I go to look it up later, it's only going to show me the end of the chat and not like where I can go
Gotcha.
get the link. You know?
No, and the nice thing about DMs is you can go to it. It's there. You lose it in the chats when the show's
Right.
over. So
Right.
All right.
So,
It is sent.
appreciate you. Because that
you
does
bet.
sound interesting.
But yeah, those little handouts are great because they go through and it refers to, I think it refers to God as Yah, and the Yahweh, and then refers to. I'm trying to think of the name that they use for Jesus, but I've been using Yeshua more because that's more of a proper terminology.
Right.
Jesus is, just kind of the bastardization of his name when it comes down to it. It's really
That's like calling him,
Yeshua.
"Hey, Joe."
Yeah, exactly. It's
Yeah.
Yeshua,
Hey,
Right.
did you guys ever see the link where they're talking about our DNA and the sequences? And in those sequences, you have the name of God. Have y'all seen any of that stuff?
Well, yeah. I mean, in our DNA is the name of God, and it's Yahweh. It's the different synchronicity of His name in our DNA prior
Right.
to the. I mean, yeah. And so I think part of what they're doing with all this is they're trying to delete God. They're trying to get rid of him, but at the
They're
same
using
time
that.
too, I personally speculate that they're trying to bring back some form or another of Nephilim,
Yep.
by mixing our DNA and
I
making
got
us
two
appear.
things. I have two things on that one. So they're
Yeah.
using that CRISPR technology that could be able to, it's capable of editing, God's name out of the sequence, right?
Right.
And on top of that, you have CERN. Okay.
Yep.
In the Bible, it talks about where the devil fell, Lucifer, Satan, whichever one,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that same location is where they built CERN on top of. And so you have people that are saying or suggesting, and keep in mind, CERN is deep underground, people. It's
Oh
not
yeah.
like, yeah. And so they're suggesting that they're trying to make a portal to let them out.
Well, in a spiritual sense too, they are,
Yeah.
because of what they're doing. They're and there's been reports of strange anomalies happening when they actually crash these particles into each other. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
and I mean, in my opinion, we're going to see a lot of weird stuff over the next couple of years. It's just going to continue to get wackier. But the beauty of that is we're going to see a great revival. We're going to see a lot of people coming to the Lord that never thought they would because
Well,
of what they're seeing.
since you brought that up, in Revelations, they describe some of these creatures that will be walking around. And some of those things sound creepy as hell, like if you were to be
Yes.
face to face.
Oh yeah,
And they're not going to be small, people.
no.
Big. Well,
Well, and it's
Godzilla.
funny.
Yeah.
You talk about that. What is it? The kind of horn. It's kind of like a hornet with a lion's face and
And it has like a scorpion tail,
scorpion tail. Correct.
the body
And
of
how
like a
those things
locust or something like that.
they'll sting people, but they won't kill them. It just cause great anguish and pain.
Yeah.
And I mean, and then the other thing gets me too is talking about men being underground and asking the rocks to fall on them. And I think about these dumbs and
Mm-hmm.
how some of these elites are going to try to hide underground and destroy things on top of the earth, and they're going to be suffering too, and they're going to want
Well, no, didn't it say something? Didn't it
Yeah.
say something along the lines of the anguish is going to be so tremendous that you're going to wish you could die but can't?
If you won't be able to, correct? Yeah,
Yeah.
you're going to have to go through it. Yeah, I'm a believer in the rapture though, so my prayer is that I'm out of here before the 7-year deluge of what do we call it?
The
Great
tribulation.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
And
you just want to bounce? You want to bounce? You want to just hang out and
well,
teach people how they were wicked?
hey, to be president, out of the body is to be present in the Lord. So with the
Right.
Lord. So I want to be with the Lord.
Yeah.
I wanna-
Amen.
I'm looking at, we're going to be sitting at a great feast. We're going to be feasting. And that 7 years is going to go by in hours to us. We're just going to be full of joy and enjoying the comfort of our Lord. And then he's going to say, okay, y'all ready? Let's go. And we're going to all go down there. And he's going to do all the ass kicking.
Yep.
But we're going to be with him. We're going to be riding down there with him. And then we get that 1,000-year period of reign from the earth, in the millennium kingdom. And then after that, he's going to go ahead and create new heaven and new earth, and it's going to be incredible. So,
Amen.
I don't know if
just to
people
think about
realize
eternity
how
is so
long.
eternity.
I don't know if people realize how long 1,000 years is. I mean, I'm not trying to be a shit, but that's a long time, bro. Like
It
at
is a
some
long
point, you're
time.
gonna get bored. You know what I mean?
Right.
And, I think it's going to go by quick because we're going to be having such a good time with the Lord, to be honest.
That's a good point.
Then again, it's going to be forever too, because from that point forward, time is going to be, I don't know how to describe it, because time doesn't slow God down, doesn't change his world, doesn't
Right.
affect him. And if
It
we're in his
tells us-
presence,
It tells us a day for him is like 1,000 years for us.
1,000 years is to a day. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in my
Okay.
mind, it's just going to be a great infinite loop of being with him, praising him, and just doing what it is we're to be doing with him. So
Hey, I'll tell you right now, God is not gonna like me having 1,000 years of questions, because
well, you know what? Here's my personal speculation on that is a lot of what we are used to here in this physical realm, we're not even going to care about once we get our transformed bodies and we're in Prince's presence. None of that's going to matter anymore.
well,
Not to mention all the folks that we're going to be reuniting with and meeting from over the years of history. So
that just adds more questions. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, it could. I guess it could, but I guess it depends on our mindset where we're at that point. Because I mean, as we're new in creation, being believers in Christ, when we get to that next level, it's gonna surpass that 100 times. So,
I mean, look at it like this. What you just said, as far as having, a spiritual body and all that,
mhm,
that's almost like a form of adolescence, right?
mhm.
Now, I don't know if you have kids, but I know when my son was little, he asked 1,000 questions in a second. Like,
Oh yeah.
oh man. And some of them are good questions, but then a lot of them are just, back then at least, oh wow.
I was the worst. Why? I would ask 10 questions, and then he'd try to answer it, and I'd say, why? Why? But going through the whys, I would get to the answer I was looking for.
That's awesome. Uncle Krusty
Sorry
points
to
out.
drag y'all completely off rail.
No. We're right on target. Uncle Krusty points out time is a construct of the human mind.
It sure is. Yeah.
Yeah. The reason why it's hard to not like we're reading about Israel interacting with Egypt. Joseph's over there in Egypt, and I'll just use a phrase that's evocative. He's kind of one of the first not the first example. Abraham already did it a couple times, but he's kind of a court Jew here.
Yeah.
And, he's going to make bank, just like Abraham did whenever he visited Egypt twice. And
Well, keep in mind, Abraham had Sarah with him. That had to help.
well, and notice what Joseph does here is inherits a priest's daughter, a local priest's daughter. So he doesn't get someone from Ur.
From Judah, or are you talking about Joseph, or are you talking about Abraham?
We just flipped from Abraham to Joseph. Sorry.
Okay. I was going to say, because when you say Ur, I think of Abram.
Yeah, Abraham,
Yeah.
Isaac, and Jacob all got women from back home.
Right.
Whereas Joseph is now going to get an Egyptian lady.
Gotcha.
But anyway, so we're talking about that, and in the news today is not so much Egypt, but now like kind of Babylon, if you want to say Persia, is kind of out there floating around, pulling the strings, calling the shots. So a different, but it puts the mind, when you're imprisoned in Egypt or about to be. Well, he actually is. He just was imprisoned for a little while. And when your whole peoples are for hundreds of years going to be imprisoned in Egypt, it puts the mind of, so we can talk about current events. They all tie together. It's my long-winded point.
Well, so like what I was talking about earlier, like the more I go down that rabbit hole, the more I'm kind of siding with Palestine. And I try to have these conversations with my truther friends online. Some of them are just reserved. They don't even want to say anything. They just want to be neutral. You know what I mean?
Right. I'm more in the neutral sense, and the reason being is one, it's war sucks. Whatever it is, whoever's fighting against whom, and when you look at it, it's not the people that are truly fighting against each other. It is these evil powers that are pitting people against each other.
I gotta disagree with that, because the way they raise their kids when they're little, like 5 and 6.
Why?
Well, no, I get your point. I get your point on why, but what I'm saying is they're already brainwashed from the time that they're little, so they don't stand a chance in hell, to be able to think for themselves,
Because their parents are brainwashed.
But the other thing I'm going to get at is
it's generational curse.
I was just about to say that, CDP4JC.
If you look at like where they were at back in like during the World War II time period, what I'm understanding is that you had a combination of Arabs, Christians, and Jews in Palestine.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the British made the deal with the Jews in Europe to come to Israel and kind of like, uproot shit. I mean, because they kicked a lot of Palestinians out back then.
Yeah.
So, when I look at it from that point of view, that's what makes me want to side with Palestine. And then when you learn about the Ashkenazi and these people making a conversion of faith versus having a bloodline, and then you read verses out of the Bible like Revelations 3:9, where it's talking about they're pretending to be a thing, but they're not. And how much of this stuff has been going on for decades and decades on us having to placate and bow down to them because they're running around screaming, we're God's chosen people. And that's not even the case. And on top of that, they got the balls to accuse people of being anti-Semitic when they're not even Semitic, if you ask me.
Well, it's almost as if the true Jewish faith has been stolen.
Don't even get me started about these Zionists. They want to have God with no Jesus. I'll just stop right there.
Yeah.
I almost bit my tongue doing that. Damn it.
So, Black Yoda, you've ripped the Band-Aid off. It's now off.
Yep.
And I guess the only thing... So, I go the way that I just heard Brother CDP4JC going. I don't want to put words in your mouth, CDP4JC, but I'm guessing, like, I go with premillennial dispensationalism. So I do think this is the properly reconstituted Israel, even though it's men trying to control things. Ultimately, God's on the outside ordaining.
Right.
Like, I don't think... like the dry bones are coming up and reconstituting themselves, just like he predicted, and so he's going to use it for his glory. So yes, it could be the Ashkenazi are kind of usurping, but it's still going to be the Israel that's talked about in the end times is the motto I hold. So I still have to really, that's the apple of God's eye, according to the scripture. So I have to somehow square that.
So aren't the lost tribes eventually supposed to make their way back?
Well, the way I see it is this, and this is kind of on topic, but a little off topic, but we're talking about Revelation. You're going to have 144,000 that are going to be preaching, for all practical essence, the gospel and Jesus Christ being the Messiah. And you look at most people today in Israel, and if you actually did a poll, I would bet you 70% of them don't believe in God, any God. They just don't, and they've gotten so far away from God. Part of the whole reasoning and part of the whole need for the tribulation is to bring them back to God. And that's going to happen with those 144,000 that are going to be witnessing. And the two witnesses, that's in itself is going to be an incredible event. Because they preach for how long? It's like 2 years.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
And they don't even get touched. They can't kill them. They can't take their lives. And then when they do,
you're still talking about the 144,000?
No, he switched to the two witnesses.
The two witnesses.
Okay.
When they,
so
after they get through preaching for 2 years, then they do end up passing, and they leave them dead. Their bodies in the streets. Everybody's going to be watching it all over the world and celebrating. And then after 3 days, God's going to raise them up, and he's going to take them up into heaven. That's going to be something else. I mean,
yeah.
Wow.
So is there room in our sort of, because I hold with that view pretty close, is there room, and I haven't figured this out yet, for the concept that these 12 tribes could still be dispersed? And I'm talking about, from the people of color all around the world, because that's a theory that's out there.
I believe so.
I believe it.
I wouldn't doubt it a bit.
You know what? To be honest with you, I think that's what part of the slave trade was about.
Yeah.
They knew who these people were, and they were some of the first slaves that came over here to the Americas.
Mm-hmm.
That's one aspect.
I've heard that theory too, and I wouldn't use.
Now, do let me clarify this. I am neutral, but at the same time, I'm paying attention to what I've been, rabbit holing on when it comes to like World War II history and on up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And like I said earlier, I think they should just cease fire for now and rehatch those old agreements with Britain, because that's where a lot of this funk started in the first place.
Yeah,
I don't know if we can go backwards though. This stuff is written. I like the idea.
I'm only saying as far as like current events, because they're not even paying attention to that.
Right.
They're going way. I'm only asking to go back to the 48.
Could you imagine current news if we were in the second term of Hillary? Most Americans would just be lapping it up, but we're not buying into it as strongly as we normally do.
Yeah.
Dude, when it comes to that aspect, Trump was a godsend. Just to break up their intent.
Yeah.
Yep. to
because had it not been for that speed bump, oh my God.
I mean, now it's like where people were laughing at him saying fake news 5 years ago. Now a lot of those same people are going, holy crap. He was right.
Did you guys see the billionaire on whatever podcast who was
I was just about to bring him up.
Yeah. Nice.
Oh, dude, because he was trying to tell the guy, he was like, look, man, if you really look at it, we didn't want to listen because of the messenger, but did you hear what he was saying? You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
One of my favorite things. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
One of my favorite things that came out of that, I was watching like Drunk Pinata and 412 talking about that guy, and they just codified it really well. When people start with, I'm no fan of Trump, but you're listening to someone who's slowly coming over,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They don't buy into everything about him, and I get it. His seemingly arrogance really gets to people. I think more than anything else, that's what bugs a lot of people. But when you're sure, to me, that's he's just confident.
No, I don't think that's it at all. What it boils down to is the news media, day after day, just driving it into people's heads that you can't trust Trump. Trump is a racist. Trump is this and Trump is that. I mean, just nonstop.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got people like my father, right? He doesn't take the time to look up any of the stuff that we, talk about, right? I remember one time I went over to his place. I had just walked through the door, and I could hear one of those mainstream stream channels going. I don't know if it was CNN or MSNBC, but I could hear it and what they were talking about. And I'm like, dude, why in the hell are you watching this? Oh, I'm not watching it. It's just background noise. What he doesn't understand is
Working
he's
into
not
your
making a
subconscious.
disconnect. He's not making a disconnect. He was absorbing it, right?
Yeah.
So when the whole COVID thing came up, I'm telling him, I'm begging him not to, get the shot, right?
Right.
And then he blurts out the most famous quote. Well, Steve, I'm just going to go ahead and do it because I think you got misinformation and I trust the science.
Ugh.
And I was like, dude, the only people that say that they trust the science are the people that are watching this bullshit on TV and not doing their homework.
Yeah.
And I just dropped it. I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I mean, we all go to God. Well, to a degree. You know what I mean? Like, and he is a Bible guy. But
That's good.
it gets frustrating because this is the reason why the elite want to smite us now. Have you guys seen the videos where they'll go up to like college students and they'll ask them random questions like who fought in the Civil War?
Oh, Mark Dice is great at pointing out how ignorant our youth are.
This one is a different. This one is a youngster that's doing it. I don't know his name, but
Yeah, I've seen that one
after
too.
they give you an answer, he'll be
Correct.
like, "Correct, you're right, yep."
Correct. Yeah.
But
what was it? One
I
girl
mean,
said, "I'm from the great." She said, "I'm from the country, Florida, and it's almost like an island because three sides are surrounded by water or something like that." It's like, good Lord, are we teaching them nothing in school these days? That's insane.
But it's like we take the time to learn all this stuff, and then when you try to share it, you get nothing but contempt, and it gets frustrating, right?
Sure.
So, like, I can understand why some of my truther friends don't want to answer certain questions because I'll bring up different things just to get their opinion on something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But
And
here's my advice to you, Black Yoda, and it's scriptural. What did Jesus tell his disciples to do?
be more specific.
Well, when someone's not listening to the word you're giving them that is truth, what do?
I know the answer to this. Go ahead.
You dust off your sandals and you move on to the next town. That's what you do. It just, some people are not going to be changed. It's one day they may come up to you and say, "Damn, you were right," but there's no sense in continuing to push them, and because they're just going to hear blah 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 blah. They're not going to listen.
Yeah, and I've had that happen to me. Real quick, I'll just be real fast. I have two cousins that are twins, boy and a girl. The boy, I flipped him a long time ago, way before this situation. His sister, full Democrat, full blown Democrat, and she calls me one morning. It was a Saturday morning, early as shit. It was like 8:30, 9 o'clock, and you know how you want to sleep in on a Saturday, right? And she asked me like 10 questions. And as I'm listening to her, by the time she got to like the 10th question, I realized, and I tell her, I was like, Leslie, everything that you just asked me are conservative points of views. And I know you're not a conservative, you're a Democrat. So why are you asking me this? And she was like, I get it now.
Change your heart.
I see all the stuff that you post on Facebook, and it just finally clicked. Like I see what you're saying now. That's what woke me up. And I actually sat up in bed. And I'm listening to her. And so, yeah, you're right. Drop that seed and walk away. It'll leave you with less frustration,
Well, you can do that, and you pray for them. I mean, that's you can say what you can, but prayer is going to be more effective.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, we plant and we water, but the growth comes from the Spirit.
Yep. I used to get frustrated when I couldn't get through to someone and make that breakthrough for them to give an opening for God, until I realized it's not me. It's the Holy Spirit's been presented. The Word's been presented. If they're not going to accept it, That's their choice, and that's the beauty of our God. He's a gentleman. If you don't want him coming in, he ain't coming in. If you don't want to be blessed, you're not going to be blessed. You know.
Right.
So we
He
all
respects the individual sovereignty.
he respects free will. You know, and when you stop and think about it, could you not ask for a better parent? You know, that would be that way. So,
Right.
pretty awesome.
You're near
right.
an ER.
Are we gonna
Yeah.
talk? Are we gonna talk about this chapter at all?
Yeah, I can segue us in with a good comment from Nova earlier. Nova was pointing out, let me get my notes here. Nova was pointing out that her name, of Joseph's wife's name, which is mentioned there, it's in the next section. Sorry. I think it's in the next section. Wait, is it in what we read today? No, it'll be next week. But anyway, her name is Asenath, which could be interesting. Uncle Krusty
I'm
and
going
Nova.
to jump out, guys, because you mentioned DR. I am there. My wife's getting some fluids. She ended up having gastric bypass about 6 weeks ago.
Okay.
And she's been doing really good up until about 3 days ago, and she was having some issues on not being able to eat anything. It was just all coming back up. So,
Wait, is that the surgery where they make your stomach small?
yeah, it's now like 3 ounces big. So I serve her food in a dish this big, and that's it.
Hey, I'll give you some advice.
Yeah.
Go 50-50 with castor oil and coconut oil, and use it as a lotion. She's gonna need that.
Okay. Talking about for the skin?
Yeah.
It's hot.
Okay.
I know it's hot. I got callus on my hands.
Yeah.
You about to spill it on me shaking like that.
We'll try that. Coconut oil and castor oil.
50-50.
Okay.
Or just look into it. You know what I mean? Castor oil is great for the skin. You're going to want to tighten those joints up. You know what I mean?
Definitely want to try to get some of the elasticity back to it, because she's already lost 52 pounds since June.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, she's lost about 26 after the surgery, but she's been diagnosed with 7 different autoimmune disorders. And that was the hard part of, she's got something called lipedema, not lymphedema, but lipedema. And it's where you actually have fat cells that just can't go away. A lot of people, if you see their torso, if their midsection isn't real big, but they've got fat arms and fat legs, a lot of times that's lipedema. And it's this crap that they put in the foods now that goes straight into your fat cells, and that's where it stays. And it's next to impossible to get off of. So,
wow.
But anyway, and we've, for the past, 6-7 years, we've been eating clean, doing a lot better on what we're doing to keep ourselves healthy, but it's still getting, she hit a plateau where she just couldn't lose anymore. And so now we're making some progress in that area, and that's going to help her get some energy back. So that's a good
cool
thing. Yeah. So, well, God bless you folks. Appreciate you having the show and sharing. And look forward to the next
for stopping by.
Thanks for coming in. God bless you.
All right. You guys have a great one.
All right. See ya.
Later.
All right. Uncle Krusty says he doesn't respect free will. He created it.
Stomach
Excellent point.
to make it smaller so you can lose weight. All right.
So, Black Yoda, check this out.
What's up?
To stay off topic just for another second, but sort of on topic.
Okay.
Uncle Krusty pointed out, every time a biblical site is discovered, that area gets bombed.
Did that happen just recently?
Yeah, I think they were finding more stuff. I'm trying to remember what it was. It was like...
I saw the thing about the eye of the Sahara, and then there was something about David that I saw a couple of days ago. I'm trying to remember, but I didn't hear anything about them bombing a religious site. I'm not saying that it's not, out there. I just don't recall.
They were doing it in.
I know in the Iraq War they were in there tearing shit up so
Oh,
they could
yeah.
steal.
Yeah. Well,
Dude,
and they've been flattening a lot of Syria lately. Not
dude,
in the
during
last couple of years. Yeah.
that last Iraq War, they went into this one museum in particular and bypassed the gold and silver. Not only was it gold and silver, but it was like, in coin form and in other forms, like those forms were valuable in itself, right?
Yeah.
And they what I was watching was saying that they knew what they were getting and they knew the layout and they were just in and out. I don't know what they took. And then when you see some of the stuff talking about old world tech,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So if Iraq did have weapons of mass destruction, it wasn't the kind of weapons that we would conventionally think about. It would have been some old school shit, you know.
So
Whatever
Uncle
that,
Krusty's saying Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, Iran, and now Israel. Of course, the operation did say Israel will be last.
yeah, it really did. So I want to stay neutral on who's what in this conflict.
Yep.
But if somebody asks me, I'm gonna say I'm leaning more towards Palestine because, as far as I'm concerned, they were already there before the Jews moved in what 47, 48.
Yeah, Balfour Accords. Right
And
on.
and the
Yeah.
other point I forgot. The other point that I wanted to illustrate, I kind of brought it up earlier. So back during World War II, you had a combination of Arabs, Christians, and Jews, and then these people move in. Because you got to ask yourself, why are the other Arab countries so unwilling to take the Palestinians? It's almost like they don't. It's like they're not good enough from an Arab point of view. And I'm not talking about Hamas people. I mean, the way I'm talking about Palestine, that would be like somebody in Africa saying that all white people are KKK. That's not the truth. You know what I mean?
So a couple months ago, Mr. Anderson said, how come people that are stuck in a terrible neighborhood don't just move out? And I said, it's not that easy. It's expensive to move out. So at a certain point, like if you've been living somewhere for 3-4 generations, and how are you going to get out? You know what I mean? It's not your choice.
Well, a lot of times, if say you're somebody in a bad neighborhood, more than likely you're under the bar when it comes living check to check. So how do you save the money?
Yeah.
For the down payment, security deposit?
Yeah, and let's say you somehow can go try to get an apartment somewhere else with 5 roommates. You don't know what that neighborhood acts like, so you're going to look like an outsider, and they're going to just be afraid of you and think that you're there for crime.
It depends on. So, like here in Phoenix, you have some of your poor neighborhoods might be like that, or at least back in the day. I know it was like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the more you get away from those poor neighborhoods, you can live next door to your neighbor for 20 years and not even know that person's name. That's the way Phoenix is. It's not like back in Michigan.
That's true.
Like where I grew up, everybody knew everybody. Like
I've walked through Palestinian neighborhoods. It was 20 years ago, but the State Department really wanted to show us what life in Jerusalem was like. And they took us to, some tent cities, essentially. Only in the desert, you don't have to put up a tent. The climate is so amazing. You just sleep in a doorway. And so there's, how, like we'll see homeless here. There'll be that little, you can see, a homeless lives there. A homeless lives there. It'll be a little pile of stuff. This is in the middle of the day, and they weren't there. I guess they were off doing whatever they do. But, so I saw basically tent cities in Jerusalem. It's just like anywhere. Like, how are you going to get out I get the point.
Well, I heard on purpose the Israelis treat Palestinians, like the ones that choose to live amongst the Jews, they have a different ID card.
Mm-hmm.
They have like different everything. So, I mean, who they are right away. And they get treated like shit, bro. Like
Yeah,
I don't know why one of them would want to live there. You know what I mean?
My wife and I both were going from Bethlehem back to Jerusalem, and I was in one vehicle and she was in another. The vehicle I was in was official and state business vehicle. She was with a bunch of Palestinians. It took her like 90 minutes longer to get through.
Because they got checkpoints, don't they?
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'll just be careful how I say this. They went a different way back than they got there.
Why is that?
Because they didn't want to go through the checkpoint again.
Oh, okay. Got you. I was slow on that one.
No, I was cagey.
Yeah. Now, I don't want to see anybody die over something as frivolous as a dispute between the two sons of Abraham. You know what I mean? This is how I look at it, you know? And then you got these con artists that are pretending to be a thing that they're not. I'll just leave that one right there, you know?
Well, no one in the chat came in and talked about. So here's my question. Like, there's history examples of people who convert into the Hebrew religion, into Judaism.
Yeah, but okay. But do you get God's promise because you converted? I mean, if that's
Rahab did.
All right.
She was the prostitute on the roof that helped the soldiers, and she's in the lineage for Jesus as one of Jesus' ancestors. So she got the promise. There's other examples. I just, you have to follow the rules. You have to join in.
So Abraham's two sons, right?
Yeah.
And then eventually it gets down to like Jacob, right? I guess my point is the other brother would have been closer to God's promise than somebody that made a conversion of faith. Is how I see it.
Yeah. But a lot of Ishmael's offspring end up in the pool of people that God's very displeased with. But he does save a boatload of them in the end times.
And then you got to look at it like this. The Bible is right here next to me, right? One way or another, it's got to go down. I mean, we could debate all we want on what's right and wrong.
Right.
One way or another, bro, it's about to go down, whether it be now or later. I mean, So for us to have personal philosophies on what should be,
right,
it really don't matter because it's going to go down regardless. You know?
That's a good point. Let me throw this in. Uncle Krusty says, I'm a son of Abraham. Smart man. I've learned that from Uncle Krusty. If you get captured and gunned to head, I'm a son of Abraham. Put him on the spot.
Yeah, but as far as this chapter that we were reading tonight,
let's do it.
I don't know how to come at this one. I feel like there's some meat there, but I can't figure out where the good fat part is at. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I could feel the meat. I could feel the meat is there.
Did you catch the surprise inception dream within a dream that I noticed is in the text that nobody ever talks about?
I heard you talk about that, but I've had a dream, woke up, got up to go use the bathroom, got back in bed, and had picked up where I left off in the dream.
Yeah.
I've had that happen to me a lot. But I understand your point, like a dream within a dream.
I think that's what it says.
That happened to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it has, I'm not recalling it right now.
Yeah, I don't think it's happened to me. I can't remember it.
I've had a lucid dream before where I was conscious in the dream, bro. That was the coolest shit. Oh, man, that was the coolest shit. I try so hard to like do it again.
Yeah.
but it was by accident.
Yeah. That's a whole thing. I don't think I've ever had one.
A lot of times when I'm starting to realize like something is off and I start to think more inside my dream
Mm-hmm.
instead of reacting to something taking place, I'll end up waking myself up, you know?
Yeah.
But dude, a lucid dream and you realize you're dreaming. Oh my God, dude. Oh, that is so much fun. I remember, you know, I like what's that cartoon? Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
How when they charge up and they get that energy around them, that field. I'm walking down like this dirt road, and I'm realizing that I'm dreaming. And so I stopped and I was looking at my hands, and I was like, I wonder if I can, make energy like come out of my hands, right? And it was coming out like these lightning spikes.
Somehow I knew, and I was going to ask, did you get superpowers?
So, I mean, the electricity was coming out, but instead of being like yellow, or yellowish white, like lightning, it was red. It was like red lightning, you know?
You sound like an evil Star Wars emperor.
No. Red. The only thing I could compare red in the meaning to is red is your root chakra.
Yeah.
So other than that, it didn't make no sense. But I could see the electricity, and it wasn't like shooting out of my hands. It was just like I had my hands out, kind of like claws, right? And I'm just looking at them, and it wasn't like a ball or anything. It was just arcing out of my hands, like the way a tree branch looks, like lightning or whatever. You know what I mean? But it was small,
Uncle
And
Krusty,
not long after that, I woke up.
Uncle Krusty has figured out how to do it. Lucid dream. You know what I've noticed? We've learned a lot about the first 40 chapters. We always feel like we're just around the corner from the cool part. Have you noticed that?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying, dude. I feel like there's some meat here that we're missing, and I can't figure out what it is. I don't know if it's because we didn't finish the chapter.
Yeah, part of it's that. Like, he's about to become basically vice president.
Oh, big pimping.
Yeah.
The Texan he's about to be Hoss.
Yeah. He's about to be Hoss, and it's just right around the corner. But he has been sprung from prison, and he's in the court. Like, all of a sudden, he's... Yeah.
I was going to ask you, okay, in the previous chapter, he was telling the butler and the other guy, hey, put a word in for me.
Right.
Right? So I was wondering if he... Now, keep in mind, Joseph was probably having dreams of his own.
Yeah.
Right? And it made me wonder if he already foresaw a situation with the Pharaoh.
Nice. I like that.
I'm not trying to reach what I'm saying, because he made for damn certain, hey, make sure you mention me.
Right. Yep. He's pretty chillax, like he has to wait, just like, to me, Jacob has to wait like 1 billion years to set up his own house. Joseph has he's just stuck for years.
And he's already been screwed over by his brothers.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have this kinky chick.
Yep.
That's trying to get in his pants. You know what I mean? He runs out the house butt naked. Right?
Yep.
Trying to explain, no, I didn't do anything. Then why are you naked?
Right. Hey, we've got a phone from Uncle Krusty. Thank you for that, Uncle Krusty.
That's what's up. So, from Joseph's point of view, he's got to be tired of being, messed with when he's trying to be righteous. You know what I mean?
Amen.
I could understand frustration like that.
So let me borrow from next week's story just a little, because you're right on topic. with this thing that I'm going to point out next week, but I'll kind of spend it now. I was sitting there thinking, Potiphar's wife, kinky chick, she probably finds out when he gets like paraded through town as the heralded second in command and shown off the priest's daughter's wife. She's probably like, ooh, like she's got to be so mad. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, she gonna start acting like Sarah, dude. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
As soon as he get married, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If the Bible don't talk about it, we can read between the lines. She gonna be hate from a distance. You know what I'm saying? And whenever the Pharaoh has his little functions and his little get-togethers and his parties, come on, man.
Yeah, and she's got to be there because Potiphar is pretty high up.
Yeah, dude, haters. Yeah, they're everywhere.
Yep. Impeach 'em all has rolled in.
Dude, the haters will hate. You know what I mean? And if you don't have haters, you ain't doing your job. You know?
That's right. That's right.
Cat Williams said it best.
Yep.
That's too funny. But no, it really did make me wonder if he had some kind of insight that he might be, in good with Pharaoh at some point.
He sure acted like a boss when he got there. He's like, yeah, dreams come from God, whatever.
Yeah.
Pharaoh is God in his setup, So he's busy telling him. But I kind of like this Pharaoh. This guy's like, and we're going to see next week, he turns to his court and he's like, yeah, we're putting this guy in charge. And they don't
not this guy. Hey, we're putting this Hebrew in charge.
Right. This out-of-towner.
Yeah.
We're putting one of those in charge. And he didn't like freak out the way Joseph talked to him or anything. It's, again, almost equals. When an Abraham descendant shows up in an Egyptian court, they're treated as almost equals.
See, now that you mention that, this Pharaoh did a Trump move, because Trump always talks about how when he interviews somebody, he can tell right off the bat if they're going to be good for that position.
There you go.
Now compare that to Biden. Or whoever's wearing that mask. Dude, did you see the video where the chin was all lumpy and shit?
Yeah, the ball chin thing.
I don't know who's wearing that mask, man, but damn.
Yeah. It's either John Voight or James Woods or both.
Yeah, there were some people saying it might be Jim Carrey, but the rabbit holes I went on, he had Kuru, and I'm surprised if he's still alive.
Yeah, Jim Carrey is definitely a rabbit hole. So we covered my notes. Did you have anything else?
Other than whether or not he had dreamed about, or he had some kind of insight on
That's
Pharaoh.
A good point.
I mean, because the dreams are pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah. Next week, I'm going to make this sales pitch, and I don't mind doing this twice. I spent a year, maybe 2 or 3, puzzled, like, what kind of technology do they have to store grain for 14 years? 7 years.
Grain? Yeah. Oh, yeah, good. I was kind of thinking about that, too.
I have a solution, and I'm pretty sure it's right.
What's that?
And it helps you to prep. That's why I want to mention it. I was like, oh, no. What they did was they stored up the grain like they normally do, and they divvy it out, but they get like a surplus. They rotate the storage, basically.
You have to.
Yeah, and so you just have, at the end of the 7 years of feast, you've just got a little extra. So maybe the grain's a little older than usual, but it's only like a year and a half old because you've already eaten the 6-year-old grain. And then as the famine starts to come in, the grains don't die off on day one. It just starts to reduce. And so then you just barely, and you get that last grain on that last day of that last year. So it's just a lump that goes through time.
And then you got the capability of, using your own resources to go to other lands and cop goods. It's not like they're only stuck with what they have there. You know what I mean?
Right. So you just need to save that surplus while you're making it in that first 7 years. And that taught me how to prep better. So instead of buying these 20 years food stores, which, by the way, I've tried some of those, not everything in there tastes good. What we now do is we go get 3-year powdered eggs, and we just rotate that.
Hold on. So, about a year and a half, 2 years ago, the complex that my cousin stays in, they wanted to remodel everything from inside out, right? And so he lives closer to the front off the main street, but that's the area that they wanted to start. So they gave him the option of breaking his lease or moving towards the back. And so he asked me to help him move, and I went to one of my favorite stores. It's called Tuesday Mornings. It's like how do you just it's like a small version of Bed Bath and Beyond, but a lot of their items aren't so commercial, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? These are things that you're only going to find there. You know what I mean? And then they got like this little food section. Dude, I love that store. I will go up and down every aisle just to mess with stuff. You know what I mean? And I was in their little food section. They had this seasoning that was really abnormal. And I like the different types of seasonings that were in it.
Yep.
And by it, there was a package of everything in it was dehydrated.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
But it was black bean chili.
Mm-hmm.
And they had like vegetables that were dehydrated, and it had a seasoning pack and whatnot. Dude, I forgot we even had that. And I made that last week. G. Ross, oh my God, that was delicious.
Oh, you're making me hungry.
Dude, but my point is it was dehydrated, right? And so I don't know what you ate.
Oh, no, I ate some prepper food. I ate some prefabricated, boxed, stored prepper food I bought 15 years ago.
Oh, man, but this black bean chili, oh, my God, that was so... Dude, it was so good. It came in a plastic package, right?
So you're set, man.
Dude, it was so good that I saved the package. Because on the package, it has the website.
So buy 10.
Well, I saved the package so I'd be able to have the brand on standby and just all the information. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Funny thing is, I was asking Bernie, I was like, does that package have an expiration date on it? Because canned goods come with everything comes with an expiration date. Dude, it did not have an expiration date because everything is dehydrated, you know?
Right. That's awesome. Well, so that would solve the problem. You could keep it forever. But generally speaking, for your variety, what we learned from trying some of the old stuff is just rotate it and buy stuff you'd eat. You know, my first step into it was to buy emergency prepared because I thought, well, you know, they vacuum packed it. They're smart, and I don't know how to can stuff. But and I'm glad I did, and I think people should do that just to get started. But then once you start to think about it, you kind of change how you do it. And I just thought this story got me thinking about Joseph some years back and changed how I prep.
Do you remember when, well, you're in Texas. You should remember this.
Yeah.
About 3 years ago, they had that cold storm.
Oh, it was brutal. It was brutal.
People's pipes were busting.
Oh, yeah.
So even my son's mother was affected out there in San Antonio.
Yeah.
And so I went online on Amazon, bought cases and cases and cases of water, and I forget the name of it. The one that Red Pill 78 supports.
Right.
With the emergency supply.
Yeah, I can't remember the name.
Something Patriot or Patriot something or
Patriot Supply maybe.
I don't remember. But I went on there and I ordered some of that stuff.
It's good to have.
All you had to do was add water.
Yeah.
And so I sent her a bunch of that stuff. I never did ask her what it tasted like, though. I didn't think about it, you know?
So I ate some stuff that had aluminum silicoate in it. I forgot what it was. It was like one of the foods. Barbara and I both ate some. And we were both like a couple hours later. I'm like, do you feel kind of bloated and nasty? She's like, yeah. I'm like, what was in that thing? So we start looking at it. Aluminum silicoate is that it's pretty similar to that gel they put in to keep things dry, that little packets.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how is this legal? And I look in the Google and it's like, yeah, small amounts is sorry,
Is
Uncle
that to keep
Krusty's.
it from clumping?
Yeah, to keep it from and it helps keep it dry. So I don't eat aluminum silicoate based prepper food anymore. Listen, if it was the end times and we needed it, I would eat it. But it makes you feel like bleh.
If I eat something that, like when I went to Maryland, I was like, hey, let's order some Chinese food. And I ordered a vegetable dish, but I didn't think to ask them because I'm used to ordering from the places here.
Mm-hmm.
There was something in the broth part of it. It was either chicken or beef.
Yeah.
And so about 20 minutes after I ate, dude, I'm cramping up in my guts, my intestine area. You know what I mean? And it took about an hour for that to wear off. But that's because I haven't eaten meat and fuck. I don't even remember the last time I ate like real meat. You know? Uncle Krusty, what's up, bro?
Uncle Krusty, hello. He's messing with the camera and the mic. I sense it.
I haven't talked to Krusty in like forever, ever. Dude, did I tell you that my roommate Bernie, she has a lady boner for Uncle Krusty?
Ah, nice. Java's in the house, by the way. Blonde BLQ is in the house. Ligma Variant is in the house. Ligma Variant. What a name. I love it.
So not only does she have a lady boner for him, she likes the music that he plays.
We see you, Uncle Krusty. We see you.
You're still muted, bro.
Better?
Hey, that good Uncle Krusty microphone and that excellent voice, that radio-ready voice is coming through.
The dollar store set up for streaming.
I tell you, you got a pretty good sound.
No, it sucks.
It sounds good. 5x5.
I love you guys. How you doing, man? How you brothers been?
Dude, I haven't talked to you in forever, man.
It's been a while. It's been a while, man. It's been a while. How you doing?
I'm as good can be, you know.
God bless you. Right on.
Yeah, you too. How's it going for you? I heard you had a couple of situations with illness or something.
Yeah, pulled through. Prayer works, you know. And so does staying away from modern medicine and sticking with God's medicine.
Oh, dude, I learned the hard. So I'm diabetic. Like my blood sugar is usually like either high normal or above that. And for the last let me think, 4, maybe 5 years, I've been taking metformin. And for the last 3 weeks, I don't take it no more because all the side effects I was experiencing, but I just didn't know it was the metformin.
But that's one thing I love about you is you get into the Bible. But Ross, you already know this. I'm more of a scientific minded kind of guy. I think we talked about this before with an Armor Up with Sloan. And the more I try to disprove, it proves. And that's what makes the Bible so magical. And yet one of the first things you read, God gave Adam all dominion over the earth, all plant, all seed, all animal. Everything we need to heal ourselves is here. The reason why they make it illegal and the reason why they hide it from us or kill people off that are trying to expose how to cure cancer is because it's free.
Right.
Yeah.
They can't make money. They can't make any money, and they can't control you if you can heal yourself. Once you're ill, they have full control over you, and they steal every last penny.
And you know what? On top of what you just said, a lot of the seeds in the foods that we eat are healing. That's
you
why
know
they.
the pit of the apricot seed, if you crack the
Yep.
shell of the apricot seed, that is like almost straight B17.
Yep.
They made it illegal. They made vitamin
Yeah.
B17 illegal. It's a controlled substance. And yet
Ah.
if you buy apricots and you crack that seed open, you process it properly, it's a cure for cancer.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
That's why you think they made it illegal. What does it cost to buy a bag of apricots?
Dude, that's why they irradiate them shits when they import them.
Yep. Yeah, they do. They irradiate them, and they also pick them before they're ripe. So, but if you can get them that are homegrown, that are not contaminated or adulterated, then you can cure just about anything you need. Vitamins are incredible. They tried several years ago to make vitamin C a scheduled drug.
Oh, man.
You didn't hear about that?
No, I missed that.
It was right before COVID, and then they found out that vitamin D3 helps boost your immunity and will fight COVID. And so, what did they do? They jacked the price up on all dairy.
Yeah.
This is a big, complicated game. It's not hard to see it.
Is.
You just have to look. You just have to pull yourself out of the box and you have that airplane view.
Well, in the Matrix, they have Neo floating in that sack, and they've got 8 hoses hooked up to him. That's what you're describing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man!
And it's dangerous to be unhooked.
Yeah.
Because once you're unhooked, things happen. People end up hanging themselves and shooting themselves in the chest with a shotgun, in a tree in a park.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, I'm going to hang myself and then blow my chest out with a 12 gauge. And that's a fucking suicide. Excuse my language. Sorry.
When I was a kid, I overheard my father talking to one of our neighbors. And a conversation came up between the two of them on why do you think geniuses kill themselves? And they didn't know the answer, but I don't remember if they were speculating, but they were curious as to why, right? And so, like, the older I got, especially in the recent years with all the rabbit holing and stuff, I could see how a lot of these truths could be overwhelming for people.
Mm-hmm.
And they just El Pistole. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. There's that, and there's also the truths that they have are dangerous to the powers that be, so it's not by their hand.
Yep.
There's a lot of that that's being hidden. A lot of that.
Yep.
You're making me think of Hemingway suddenly.
Or Chris Cornell.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Kate Spade. People that had
yeah.
plans on their books for the next day. They got families. They're filthy rich. They've got huge careers. And then all of a sudden, a person that's that doesn't have a drug problem has an overdose of heroin or hangs themselves for no apparent reason, no good reason. There's no note. There's no family discord or problems. And they just happened to kill themselves. They were so unhappy with knowing the truth and telling people the truth. God will look good on them. God will look favorable on those people.
There was a Rothschild that killed himself like a few years back.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you come from like $1 trillion family. What problems do you have? You know what I mean? But I think that's when a lot of this cracking down was taking place. And he just chose the El Pistole. Or no, he jumped out of a window or something, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he bailed out a 3rd-story window. I think. I am not positive.
These castles and these tall buildings in a lot of like British, like Scotland and England, people fall out those windows, and you catch it on video. Sometimes it's kids.
Yeah. Dude, did you ever see that movie? It's like a comedy kind of. Man, don't let me mess this up. The kid, there's a fence, and when you cross that fence, you're in like this like Wonder World or something, right? And Robert De Niro played like a gay pirate or something like that. But the king, all right, he had a couple of sons, and he was talking about like which one of you guys are going to get, the kingship or whatever, right? And he was talking about how they're going to backstab each other and all this other stuff. And he's walking around the room as he's having this conversation. He just nonchalantly pushed one of the boys out the window. You know what I mean?
Oh man,
That's the firstborn ritual right there.
Oh man,
That's funny, gay pirate.
I cannot. Oh man, what is the name of that movie?
Ligma says Hook.
No, not Hook. But like a star fell out of the sky, and when it landed, the star turned into a person, and that's what they were all looking for, was this star. And Michelle Pfeiffer was one of, or am I mixing up two movies?
You're lucid dreaming again.
Yeah, maybe.
There's a trick to lucid dreaming, but I want to get back to the archaeological sites, if you don't mind, and
please.
get back to the biblical sense of what we were talking about.
Fair, since that is the show.
Because I decided not to stream tonight, so I saw you pop on,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, oh, I got to check G. Ross out. I got to see what's going on with these guys, what they're talking about. Where in the good book you are right now.
Amen.
Oh, we're still in Genesis from last year.
we're getting close, Yoda.
I'm sorry to distract you, but I think it's really important that you're discussing the past so we can understand our future.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're living in the present, and there's great discussion of what's going on in the present regarding the past that's going to lead our future.
Mm-hmm. I believe that,
and that's why why there's no reason for intervention in the Middle East. 9/11. Everybody knows it was fabricated.
Right.
Yep.
It was an excuse to go over there. And why did they blow up holy sites that didn't have anybody of interest there? They completely decimated them. They weren't using 40 mics and pumping them over a wall. No, they were using J-dams, bunker busters, and completely annihilating archaeological sites. And if you go through National Geographic and Journal of Nature in those papers that are very, very worthy of having and reading, every time they found a significant historical site, they've declared war on that country and specifically bombed those sites to keep archaeology from happening. They found the Temple of Solomon. And as it's written, Jesus will not make his second coming until the temple is rebuilt. Right. So what do? They go to war with that country. And what do you know? There's no more archaeology being done. They stop the archaeology and then they destroy it under the guise of war. But it's like, that is not a military asset. That's a historical, that is a World Heritage site.
Yeah.
And yet you use the guise of war to destroy a non-military site of archaeological value, invaluable. Because what it does, it confirms what's written in here.
Right. Yeah.
It's confirming what is written in here. And government has tried, they are in between. God created people. People created government. Government has gone from third into second. They've inserted themselves in between God and us. So if we can prove evidence of God and God's lineage, then the government has to take its shelf down below.
All of its laws, all of its statutes, all of it.
Everything goes away.
Yeah.
We live by God's law, and we create government, and government works for our laws. And that's it. See, they're supplanting us. They're usurping the people, the children of God. And that's how they break the bond. They've taken God out of court. They've taken God out of school. They've taken God out of all our sporting events. They've taken God out of our banking system. They've taken God out of everything. And that is the plan. So we have to look at what happened back then and who were the players then. And as Duppy does a phenomenal job of tracing those family lines, who are the players and where have they taken us so far? We have evidence of what they're doing and they've done. Where is that trajectory going to go? So we can project the future and know when to say when, this is enough, and we need to stop this. Because people, we're very tolerant. We're very, very tolerant. People say Americans, fat, lazy slobs, what have you. No, that's not true. We're just very patient because we are the only multicultural nation of an experiment like this that's ever been tried on this planet in known history.
Is this
And
nation?
you know what? The sad part of it, Krusty, we all get along for the most part, and they hate that.
Right.
They hate it.
They didn't think it would happen.
No,
They wouldn't have set
they
it up.
hate it.
They
Yeah.
hate it.
So
They hate that I have black friends. They hate that I have Asian friends. They hate that I have Hispanic friends.
Yeah.
They hate that.
Is-
They want me to be divided between them, but I guarantee you that some of my Hispanic friends are the most racist bastards I know. And some of the Asian friends are brutal in their racism.
You're right.
And yet most of the white people, the few that I know, white people, but I don't hang out with them because they're kind of lame.
kind of boring. Yeah.
But I'm just saying that it's homogenous and nobody else cares. Nobody else cares about race. It's an imaginary thing. It's fomented. It's made up.
Dude, the only place where you
Bourgeois.
see racism over and over again is when you turn on your TV with one of these media channels. That's the only place that I see it.
Yep. No, they're
The thing
telling
is
us
when-
that it happens, and what we look around and we look at our neighbors and we look at our friends and go, "What racism?
Yeah.
What racism?" I'm in the deep South. I'm in North Georgia. If there's any place for racism, you'd think it'd be here, right?
Yeah.
North of
Right.
Atlanta, you think it'd be some racism here? I don't.
No, I'm
see
not
it.
saying racism doesn't
I don't
exist.
see it.
But,
I don't see
but
it, man.
No, I would put it at 95% of this country is you do you, I do me. Like,
Yeah. Judge Martin Luther King Jr. Don't judge by the color of someone's skin. Judge them by their character, the content of their character, and that's what I was raised to do.
Yeah.
Is judge people by the content of their character. If you're a good person, I don't give a shit what you look like.
And
I
see,
don't, I don't care where you came from. If you're a good person, you're a man of good color or a good character, a woman of good character. Yeah, there's only two genders. If you're one of those, you're a good character. I'm fine with you.
And what I
But
was saying earlier,
if you're shady, it doesn't matter what color you are.
Right.
yeah, what I was saying earlier about the Palestine people, I'm wondering if the other Arab countries are jaded towards them because of how they carried themselves, back in the day, with having like a similar situation with a melting pot of Christians and Jewish people. You know what I mean?
You're absolutely right. And that's why they're in Israel, because all of the other Arab states pushed them out. None of the other Arab states to this day want them. They could be given they could be allotted land just across that border, but none of the bordering states want them. They don't like them. They hate the Palestinians.
Yeah.
They don't.
So like when I try to talk to people about like what I was talking about earlier, I'm not trying to sound like I'm siding with them versus like the Israelis or the Jews over there. But
Israeli, Jew, and Hebrew, I mean, you got to and Zionist, you have to break down which one you're talking about because you're dealing with four different sects.
I get that, but I'm just trying to distinguish between the Palestinians and everybody else.
Hebrews.
Okay, fair enough. And I'm not trying to.
Not all Israelis are Hebrew.
I'm not
not
trying
all
to.
Hebrews are Israeli.
That's true. I'm not trying to sound biased, like I favor the Palestinians, but I'm kind of leaning in that direction but at the same time, I don't think they need to be warring with each other, to be honest with you.
Don't you think there's a really valid reason that for hundreds and hundreds of years, maybe 1,000 years, all of the other Arab states have pushed them out? They're kind of like the gypsies, the gypsy version of Arabs. And they got pushed into Israel, and then Israel had to deal with them, and Israel actually dealt with them very well for a long time. When Israel could have wiped their ass out in 1967.
But what I'm saying,
7-day war. You look at the map at how that shifted. They lost almost all their territory.
Yeah.
But the Palestinians were there first.
Were they?
Well, I'm not talking about like all the way back.
Did they inhabited an abandoned land because the Jews were taken into Egypt, and then they came back to claim their house, and there were squatters. There were squatters in their fucking house at that time, so they came back to reclaim their house, and they said, "No, we're not leaving." This is just like in California, New York, and other Democratic run states, where if somebody decides to just break into your house and squat, now they have the right of living there.
How long? You know what? How long were they gone?
400 years in Egypt.
Well, there's 40 years in the desert, and before that, they were taken into exile. So you have what, like 140 years or so?
I thought it was 400. I'll look it up.
Or is it 400?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure on that.
I'm talking about like around like before World War II. How long were they gone?
Well, the Israelites have been there for a long time. Palestinians have been there for a long time too. We're talking biblical times when the Palestinians moved in when the Israelis, the Hebrews, moved. The Hebrews got taken south, and then the Palestinians, because that was open land, all the Arab nations forced their gypsies, the Palestinians, into the Israeli territory.
See, I didn't know about
what we call now the Jerusalem territory, which we call now Israel. But then when the Israelis came back to claim their territory, it was full of Palestinians, and they hated each other. He's like, well, just get off my land, just go back to where you came from. And they're like, well, we can't go back to where we came from because we got kicked out. We were from Saudi Arabia, but they don't want us. We were from Syria, but they don't want us. We were from Lebanon, but they don't want us.
Hey,
and they have no place to go because no other nation state wants them.
I've been drinking tea all day. I need to go use the restroom.
Right, I'll catch up with the chat. Ligma flew over and mapped the ziggurat of Ur with a military jet, which is kind of cool. They're race obsessed at universities, says Java. And those are the two things I wanted to mention.
They are. The universities are a big problem. Our education system is a catastrophe beyond words. And you can't say that it's just being lazy or it's poor administration. No, this is orchestrated.
It is.
Because it's too wide. If it was one school here, one school there, I'd understand it. But when it's nationwide, when it's the education system as a whole, then that's orchestration. That's conspiracy to
I used to think that when people would say the universities teach a Marxist ideology, I used to think that was almost too simple, but now I'm starting to see it as kind of just a known technology.
It is.
Just race bait, divide, culture bait.
It's actually very simple.
Yeah.
It seems complicated, but it's very simple when you break it down. It's the 12 planks.
Yeah.
12 planks of communism.
Right.
But I'm just, I was reading about some archaeological sites that got bombed in Syria, and it just really bothered me, man. It got under my skin so hard because there's no way to bring that back.
Right.
And they're just basically what it is a cop hiding evidence, destroying evidence. They're destroying evidence so they can say that didn't happen. That crime didn't happen because there's no evidence. Well, you know what? I say F you because this is not a crime and the evidence needs to be preserved. You cannot do what you're doing and you need to be stopped one way or another. They need to be stopped because these are supposed to be World Heritage sites that are protected, and they had archaeological digs and they were making incredible biblical finds.
You said, it's time that we're monitoring when's enough is enough. And I think we're past that, right? Like I'm willing to say that.
That's what I'm afraid of. Because when you reach your boiling point, then action. You take some action. But once you go past boiling point, you have steam vapor that annihilates.
Right.
And I'm afraid that we didn't take action early enough.
Right.
to
Well-
make it peaceable, to do something peaceable.
So
And now it's going to go too far the other way. It's
I
going to go
feel-
too
yeah.
far the other way.
we
And I'm afraid of that.
I'm a fan of the 2017 version of Operation Trust. I fell for it hook, line, and sinker, and I still like it. I'm talking about the White Hat operation.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that's how I got placated. You know, like I didn't take any action. I'm wait and see. I
That's
prepped.
what most of us are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And believe it or not, Americans were the same way before World War II. Nobody wanted to be involved. No, it was not a popular thing to go in, and that's why they had to orchestrate Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
And then they used that template because it worked so well for World War II. They used that same template for 9/11.
But we're starting to cipher that they blew it with 9/11. I woke up because of 9/11. I can trace it back.
You know what? If it wasn't for the internet, we wouldn't be where we are right now.
Very true.
And
Yeah.
I don't think that they ever expected for us to use the internet the way we do. You know what I mean?
Well, why do you think they're doing so much censorship? Why do you think they're clamping down so hard? Why do you think they're
Yeah.
fighting in court so hard to get the First Amendment amended without actually amending it through a 25th convention?
Dude, can you imagine the conversation that Hillary was having with her people after 2016? And she realized that it was people like us on the internet.
Gamers. A lot of gamers.
Yeah. I wish, dude, I would love, I hope there's a recording of that conversation.
I don't want to see her voice.
Ugh,
I don't want to hear her voice.
Trump
I don't
called
wanna
her
see
beautiful
face.
Hillary.
She's straight up evil, man.
Did you
You know, I
catch
did-
Trump calling her beautiful?
Yeah.
It was pretty funny.
Master of deception.
Absolutely.
When they found out that it was people like us that just destroyed the narrative that they were trying to push on mainstream media with memes, bro. A lot of us were doing it with memes. And that's when they were like, oh yeah, we got to pick up the ball on this whole censorship shit. 'Cause
Rev
before
is
that-
in the house.
Before that, there was no censorship like it is now.
Right. Howdy, Rev.
Hey, boss. Hey, okay. So on the schools, we are under the Austrian school system, and it was created to create better citizens, better social workers, better soldiers, and better
Social work.
consumers.
And consumers, yeah.
Okay.
Social keyword.
Yeah, well, it was designed that way, and it was brought to the United States. We fought it in the late 1900s.
Yep.
We fought it, and I think it took over in like 1905 or something.
I thought it was right around World War II.
Your grandfathers don't know.
I thought it was
They
about
were-
World War II because back in 1908 we were still horse and buggy, and you had schoolhouses that taught the Bible and read classic American literature as well. A fifth grader in 1910 was smarter than someone with a master's degree today. That's a fact.
Hey, you guys want to know something I just learned like a couple of days ago?
Yeah.
Give it up.
I know when they started the Federal Reserve back in 1913, I know how fractional banking works. I know about fiat money and all that stuff. What I didn't know was before they started the Federal Reserve, anytime Congress wanted to do a thing, like say they needed money for war or just whatever, right? Outside of whatever they already had in their treasury, they would make bonds. And if the people wanted for our federal government to like do a thing, the people will buy a bond and they would use that money to push the narrative. And then once they started the Federal Reserve, they bypassed us buying the bonds. So like when you have like the national debt and shit like that, that's because they don't got to screen through us anymore. I did not know that was a thing.
They actually sell U.S. bonds to foreign nations to bypass the American citizens. And if you're up on your geopolitical finance, all those cows are coming home to all those. They're all coming home because China is dumping their U.S. bonds because they know that their dollar, they lost money because their dollar's depreciated so much. So they're dumping them. They're selling them back to us. Japan's doing the same thing. All the other nations around the world that bought U.S. bonds as a stability for their own economic reasons, they're selling them back to the United States. They're dumping them because it's trash and it's not. It's they all lost money on it. So now we've got this huge amount of bonds that the United States can't pay for. We're in debt to countries all around the world because we can't pay them the value of the bonds. That's why our inflation is going up. That's why our prices are going up.
Right.
Because we're trying to pay these foreign countries for these broken bonds that we sold during World War II.
There's only one institution that's in debt, and that's the United States Corporation. The real United States isn't in debt.
Well, you're dealing with two entities. You got the United States of America, which is the combined Confederate States, and then which is we the people,
right?
As it is written in the Constitution, we the people, we're Americans. And then you have the United States, which is the military wing of the of our government that actually works for the United States of America. The military is supposed to work for the people, which are Americans. So when you're absolutely right. The United States, the military wing, has become too big and has taken power over the United States of America. And that's why you hear about this, Joe Biden being the president of the United States of America, but he's not the Donald J. Trump is president of the United States. He's still in charge of the military, but Biden is in charge of the people. And that's why Biden's screwing over the people and our military is doing what our military does.
Well, the corporation part of this conversation
is Title 18.
That somehow is rooted with London and their system there. You know what I mean? And I forget the name of the damn company.
That would be the City of London, not London, England.
Right.
The banking franchise.
And just a few years back, I didn't even know DC had its own flag.
DC doesn't have a flag.
No, DC has its own flag. It's red and white. It has 2 red stripes and 3 red stars.
The District of Columbia is a foreign country. It does not belong to America.
But I think they have colors, right?
Okay, well, they have their own flag, but it's of a foreign country.
Right. Yeah, it's not like a state flag.
Yeah, I've never seen DC's flag. I stay the hell away from that place.
Hey, pull it up, G. Ross. It's got 2 red stripes and 3 red stars.
Yep, I got it.
That's interesting symbology.
Right. On the bond thing, that's called Project Sandman.
Project Sandman. Keep the people asleep.
What's going on, Rev? Good to see you. Turn your mic up, dude.
Oh, I gotta find where the controls are. Hang on.
Push the button, Rev.
Oh, that's interesting.
It went away.
3 white bars, 3 red stars, 2 red stripes. Interesting.
Now, I've been told that some people think that the stars represent DC, the Vatican, and that place in London.
It's believable.
Well, you would have military, religious, and monetary.
Right.
Those are the 3 that rule this world. The Vatican for the religious.
Right.
Then you have the City of London for finance. And then you have DC for military.
Exactly. I don't know what the 2 stripes would represent.
The stripes, I don't know what the stripes indicate, but it's interesting that there's two stripes on white background.
A little above and below action there.
Yeah.
Good
That's interesting. It's very interesting. Yeah, I haven't seen that. I've never seen it displayed. But it's only a 10 square mile area, and it's not part of the United States.
Mm-mm.
It's considered a foreign country.
Well, even if it's 10 square miles, isn't that still bigger than the Vatican?
Yeah, it's bigger than the city of London as well.
They took their old trick and they cloned it and they made it bigger.
I didn't know London was that small.
No. It's the city of London. It's London City. They're two different things. There's
Okay.
London, England, and then there's the city of London. And the city of London it's walled in. It's a fortress. And when the Queen of England or the King of England wants to go talk to them, they have to be met at the gates by the mayor of the city of London. And then he will acknowledge them, open the gates, and let them in so they can discuss things. Or he has the prerogative to say, no thanks, and leave the gates closed, and there ain't nothing they can do about it.
I didn't know they were two different things.
Yes. It's very important to know. Very, very important to know. Completely different things. London and the city of London. The city of London is a foreign territory, just like Washington, D.C. is.
District
and so is the Vatican.
Columbia.
The Vatican is its own country.
Yeah, the smallest in the world.
All three of them are foreign countries that are occupying other nations.
Right.
Washington, D.C., City of London, and the Vatican are foreign nations that are completely sovereign and independent, that are in other geographical nations, but they rule the world.
Well, let me ask you this, Krusty. Let me ask you this. Is that the reason why they're able to get away with the J6 people still being locked up? Because they're legally a different country.
Yep. You got it. You nailed it, man. You nailed it. Good on you. You get a attaboy for today.
We're putting stars on that paper.
If they were in a state, they would have due process. But they weren't in a state. They were in a foreign country. And that's why they said insurrection. That's why they claimed insurrection, because it's an outside force. People that don't live in D.C. coming in from outside areas, moving into the foreign nation, moving into their Capitol building. That's the justification for the insurrection. Was it? No, we clearly saw that it wasn't. But on paper, it is. In international law, it is.
You know, they do this on paper because what they're using is some of the design of the universe. Yeah. You know, there's courts in heaven.
Yeah.
And they're experts at manipulating.
There's 12 of them.
Right.
How many do we have in the United States? How many
districts?
How many circuit courts do we have?
Yeah. I know. You always hear about the 9th. I'll look it up. Is it 12?
9th is West Coast. That'd be California, Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada, Oregon, 12, right? And Washington.
Impeach 'em all says D.C. may end up having a white flag before it's over. Good one.
You know, impeach 'em all. I hope so. I hope to see that tomorrow on CNN. Wait, I don't watch CNN, so I guess I'd never see it.
I like that comment. Impeach 'em all.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Rev, did you finish giving us the rundown on, you hit the major points of what the schools were designed for. Did you finish that?
Okay. The bell was introduced to break your concentration.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's all a system in order to control the population. But in order to do so, they had to bypass a lot of laws in order to get it here.
That's called conditioning.
Yeah. Well, they have the same system under the prison system.
Uh-huh. I know.
A lot of people didn't take the time to look that up. I'll have to find it, but there's a whole video essay on it, and it's about 6 hours long.
Okay.
And I'll have to find that. It was on my Xbox One, but it's not on this one, so. I don't know why I can't turn up my mic. I had to move it closer to my mouth. Does it sound okay?
A little better.
I can hear you.
Yeah, you're good, man.
All right. It didn't have a gain function in there that I could find.
You're fine. It's good to see you, man. It's good to talk to you.
Oh, I'm just busy hanging out. I was sleeping till you came on, Uncle Krusty. You woke me up.
Uncle Krusty was a little fired up for a second there. It was nice.
I'm getting at my wits' end, gentlemen.
You're not the
Hey,
only
you know
one.
what? I really didn't know that there were 2 Londons.
Yeah, there's City of London, and then there's London, England.
Can I?
Now you got something, Black Yoda. Now you got something to check out. You're gonna trip balls when you look into it, and you find out what the City of London's all about.
You know, every time we talk about those 3 places, I always think of Doctor Strange. They don't put them there, but if you notice, they have like 4 spots around the Earth that they kind of run everything from.
Mm-hmm.
And it just so reminds me of that model.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's disclosure, at least soft disclosure.
Music in Hollywood will always project what will happen in the future in the time, in the meantime. So, yeah, we watch the movies and listen to the music today. 30 to 40 years from now, it will be a fact. Look at the music 30 to 40 years ago.
Well, that's because we confirm reality. So what we put in our eye gate is what we start to fabricate.
Mm-hmm. Size your camera, G. Ross.
Am I off?
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't have a zoom.
Oh.
Do I need to go back this way?
No, you're
way?
good, man.
I bought a cheap camera, an $80 one. It's got a lot of good features, and this was like 2 years ago. I should get a better camera.
I bought a Realtek for about the same money, and it just sits on top of the monitor.
Yeah.
It has no features.
Yeah, I need that.
It has no
I need that.
features at
That's
all.
what I need. So I want to go woo a little bit with some of what you've been talking about, Uncle Krusty.
Yeah, let's do it, man. I'm going to smoke with Black Yoda while you explain.
Nice. So they want us to, you've pointed out, they want us to be disconnected from the past, create a memory gap, right? Blot out our knowledge of history. The woo thing I want to mention, it's pretty short. I get it mostly from Linda Paris, deplorable McAllister.
Yeah.
She's really caught up on and frequently mentions an upcoming solar flash event, which will increase our memory.
Ooh,
you heard about this?
No. I know about solar events. I keep up on what's going on around us, but no.
I'm talking about the upgrades, bro.
Yeah, I mean, she's super woo, right? And not often super sourced. She'll tell you her source. I shouldn't say that she's not sourced, but her source is like, she has a good repository of memes that were dropped in the meme servers that never really took off with the White Hat operation, which means she could be making it all up. But I think, I think she's part of the op, actually.
Does she have any legitimate sauce that can be verified through white paper?
She never does. She's always dancing around.
All right, then I don't know where you're going with that.
I just
if it can't be verified, I'm not interested.
That's fair. That takes a lot of work.
But see, here's the other thing: is that's also a great way of working a psyop. Is you put somebody that doesn't know shit in place, and they pretend to, like our the speaker mushroom head that gets up there and tells a bunch of lies and doesn't answer any questions. Press conferences.
Oh, Jean Pierre or whatever her name is.
Jean Pierre, Baptiste or whatever her name is. So you put some knucklehead in place, and they talk a lot of crap, and you think this is just nonsense. Nobody's going to believe that. 70% of the population will believe what she says because she's in a position of authority. And then you put somebody on YouTube who promotes their own position of authority with a bunch of nonsense, and it becomes relevant. Should we talk about flat Earth? I mean, come on.
You
Really?
know I love flat Earth.
I know you do. I know you do.
I'm always happy to
think
talk
you
about
people
that.
are nuts.
Well, there's a. Can I? Okay.
Talk about a psyop.
No,
This is one of the
don't lay
best
on me.
psyops ever.
But, okay.
How far can we get people separated?
But it's
We can
so
divide them
good.
by color and race and religion and education and social schedule
All right,
and
but
monetary schedule. Now let's really fuck with them and divide them on whether the earth is flat or round. They are down to the grain of sand of destroying us.
Well,
We're gonna be
that
dust
division that you
before
just
soon.
described is a battery.
Hmm.
By splitting flat Earth, round Earth people, you can create a battery. Because we disagree and we give
The strength of the positive and negative.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's an analogy. That's an analogy.
Hey,
As
I
they
hate to
feed
disappoint you, Uncle Krusty, but I'm a flat earther too.
You're surrounded. Well, I don't know about
All right.
Rev.
Well, when one of you is on your cell phone sailing off the end of the planet and just falling into space, let me know. Call me as you're about to go over the edge of the planet.
That's not how it works, but
It
yeah.
doesn't work like that.
Oh, you're gonna hit the ice wall, right?
Right, correct.
Yep.
Yeah, you got to hit the ice wall first.
Yes.
All right.
Nobody's made it through. Whenever it's the right time, and I think it would bore Rev for sure, and probably bore Black Yoda, although he would make a go of it. You and me, let's just offline have 45 minutes. I know, I say 45. It'll be 4 hours.
I was gonna say, dude, I talked to Duppy for 13
I
straight,
know.
and they just called to help me with the computer problem.
Yeah. We'll do flat Earth on the side. Because
Yeah, man. Yeah, no, I don't want to get into it. I really don't want to get into it. I was making a joke.
Yeah, but it's
Well, I'll say this much: it's in the Bible.
the Bible says the Earth doesn't move.
That's true. And
It
it
also
also
says
says
God-
there's a firmament,
Yeah.
Yep.
and heaven exists beyond that, and the firmament is in between heaven and where the birds fly,
Right.
which is describing our stratosphere.
If you say so.
Well,
Well,
and you
that's
know
what
that
it
I do
equates
bothism. I do both on this, right? We've talked about that enough that you
Yeah,
might
I know.
remember. I do
Yeah, I
both.
know.
Because I can't.
It's an interesting topic to discuss, because when you bring in a knowledge of physics and math, and then you try to square those two, they don't square out.
Right.
I mean,
Have you-
they
have you
kind
seen-
of do.
Have you seen pictures where there's clouds behind the sun?
No.
Oh, wow. This is going to be interesting for you.
I took a cell phone picture of a cloud casting a shadow on a cloud that could only be from a local sun.
Yeah, you can triangulate the shadows. And it's
Here's something that I do question, and I think might be possible, is that there is either another planet, planet X, which is legitimately being studied, the possibility of, but I also, because of the numbers and the way that everything tends to plan out, I follow an 80-20 rule in my world. Over 90% of all habitable planets have a dual sun. They're a binary sun planet. I think we might have a dark star that...
Oh, you would have to understand flat Earth to understand the dark sun or the black sun.
There is a nice black sun model in flat Earth.
I've seen legitimate evidence that hasn't been tampered with that shows something up there. And I've also seen other times where the sunlight is coming in from two different angles, casting shadows from two different angles, and they're legitimate, no tampering photos. It's like, wait, and the guy's videotaping, and he's like, the sun's over there, and then there's clouds in the sky. It's like Indiana or something, and he's like, oh, the shadows are going this way, and then there's a sun over there casting shadows over into this way. Is it wait a minute, what? And then that brings in Mandela effect.
That's the reason for the chemtrails. They're trying to block out whatever this other one is.
I think
I've
the
seen- I've
chemtrails are
seen
just
stuff like
poison
that
us.
too.
I think the chemtrails are straight up to kill us, kill our crop, kill the
They're
crop,
lowering the
kill
air
people.
quality. I can feel it.
Well, it's nano aluminum
Mm-hmm.
and barium. And here's a fun fact for you.
Wait, there's a third one, and I forgot what it was.
Yeah, it's barium, aluminum, and something else.
Is it strontium?
Yeah, it could be, yeah. But here's a fun fact about aluminum: it's a superheating metal, and when it's in a nanoparticle type size, it doesn't even have to be that small. But when it's already dispersed aerosol like that, it settles what goes up comes down.
Right.
So it settles on the plants, it settles in the soil, it settles in the water. The plants uptake that. So when we see fires like what happened in Northern California, Santa Rosa, the place I was born, where a tree is burning from the inside out and still has green leaves on it. You look at the Lahaina fire in Hawaii, same kind of effect.
Interesting.
It's like, and everybody's saying wildfires don't burn this hot. They don't burn at 2,300 degrees. How is this happening? It's because they're saturated with nanoparticles of aluminum in a small spark. It's like it becomes like thermite.
Right.
And it goes out of control. And once it starts to ignite, it creates so much heat that any small gust of wind or no wind at all, it's going. Everything is going to go. Now, if your house is unfortunate to be new, the trees it was built with, if it's a stick build, the 2x4s, all of that wood is impregnated with nano aluminum.
Did you get a chance? Did you get a chance to see a video where there were some nails in the side of this tree? And on what you're talking about, and if you think about like how microwaves work,
I know how that was my job in the Army.
The tree wasn't on fire, but where the nails were nailed into the tree was completely singed.
Yeah. It's like put a fork in a microwave, see what happens.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
Put a piece of aluminum foil in a microwave, see what happens. Yeah, it's the same principle. It's the same. See, that's why real science is so important. So you can explain these things, or you can have questions. You can say, I can explain it, but now we have to find out what caused it. We know how that reaction happens. But there has to be, in order to blow up a balloon, there's got to be somebody to put air in it, right?
Right.
That's the big problem with expanding the universe. It's like they say there is no God, and yet in the Bible it says he spoke and everything became into existence, worked for 6 days, took rest on 7. Well, if that's true, and Nassim Haramein brought this up, he's a quantum physicist. He brought it up. He was like in the 5th grade, real young kid, and he asked his teacher. He's like, "Well," because they had a picture of a guy blowing into a balloon, and there were pennies that were glued all around the balloon. And the expanding universe theory is that the bigger the balloon gets, the farther the pennies get away.
Right.
Sounds logical.
Does.
Well, this smart ass says, "Who's that dude blowing up the balloon?" And it fucked everybody over, and they threw him out of university.
Yeah, nice.
They threw him out, and he was young. He was really, really young. He's from Iran. He's a Persian. Nice. He's a kick-ass guy, a physicist. He's long hair, lives in Hawaii, meditates. He's very spiritual, and his whole goal in life is to tie what we're trying to explain as God. He's trying to do it with math and reason, like a true philosopher, like a true modern time Socrates.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it. But see, I get a lot of information from those type of people that can be verified with white papers and documented proof of their work. And I follow that line. And that's why I love your guys' opinion, because you're coming from a completely different side. You're coming from faith base alone, primarily, and book work, and a lot of book work. Well, when you mix the two, it gets very complicated, very, very complicated, because the Bible has an incredible amount of math in it.
So let me ask you a question real quick. You think planets are like solid objects?
Oh, we're doing it.
Yes.
So I've seen planets zoomed in on, and they're geometric patterns of light. They're not solid objects. I'll just stop right there.
Oh yeah, no, we could discuss it all night long until the sun comes up.
So
I haven't seen those photographs. I don't know. know their chain of custody.
So Black Yoda, I haven't talked to you about this one, I don't think, before.
But I've seen weird shit too. Yeah. So I'm not discounting. I'm just saying I got a lot of questions.
The questions
but I will say the sun isn't 93 million miles away. Like when it comes up tomorrow, and just look at it. It's right there. It's not 93 million miles away. It's right there, bro. It's right there.
It's really big. It's like this big, and we're like this pinprick big.
Everything that you're about to tell me,
it's massive. Its density
everything that you're about to tell me, I learned too. I went to school and learned that same thing. Do you know how long it took me to like adjust to the fact that we were lied to?
Oh, we've been lied to about a lot.
Yeah.
But you can measure the density of an object. That's a fact. You can measure the density of an object.
Yes.
So if you can measure the dimension, if you can measure the density of an object, and you can observe the object and measure its density, there's math that.
Okay, you like math? I'll give you some math.
So I grew up on the coast of Lake Michigan. Big into density.
I grew up on the coast of Lake Michigan, right?
Yeah. You guys get better surf than in the Pacific.
Across from Lake Michigan, if you look in the right direction, you can see Chicago.
I've heard this, yeah.
Now,
I've heard a lot of people talk about that.
Every 8 miles, you're supposed to have so much curvature of Earth. I shouldn't be able to see Chicago from the coast of Lake Michigan.
Yes, you should.
That's math. No, dude, I'm talking about from the very bottom of the buildings.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about. But along with the curvature, when you add in the rest of the math, then it comes out correct, because you have curvature, and then you have to square that by the gravity, because gravity is pulling.
Gravity ain't got nothing to do with what I can see from a distance.
And light bends because of gravity.
Yeah, but it doesn't bend that much.
According to the math, it does.
No. If you look at just regular relativistic gravity effect on space, light does not bend the amount you'd need to see Chicago from there.
You would need a black star, or not a black star, black hole to get it to bend that much.
Yeah,
to where,
absolutely.
to like what you're talking about. Like,
okay, then maybe there is one. Maybe
we would
is
feel
one.
the gravity. We would feel the gravity here on Earth.
Would we? Depends on how big it is.
Okay, look, if light is going to be
bend light, it's going to bend us first.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not so sure about that.
So, Uncle Krusty, I don't know if I've mentioned this to you. I have a master's degree in physics. I can do that math. There's no way that's bending that light.
I'm gonna get more tea.
How far? Right, what is the distance between those 2 points? 120 miles?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I thought that. Yeah, because I've seen that before.
What it could be? So here, to just boil it down, the observations that we make, optics is going to have to be rewritten. The book of optics, which by the way Newton wrote, kind of optics.
Okay.
Would pretty much have to be rewritten if we're going to keep all these observations.
I would accept that,
and it would be a pretty big revolution.
It would destroy. If you got rid of Newtonian physics,
no, just the optics. I'm saying you could keep the gravity.
Well, yeah, but it would still, think of what it would do to so many industries and careers.
Well, but here's the thing: they sell products that work. So Newtonian mechanics is a nice thing, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Where would we be without it? I mean, come on, think about computers. Where would we be without it?
Feynman said all models are wrong. Some are useful.
Yes. I love that
Isn't
Feynman
that nice?
statement. Yes. It's true, though. It's true because everything has some flaws in it, and yet you can just fudge it a little bit here, make something up to slip into there, and your equation came out.
Right.
It's like, well, what's that equation? Well, we're just going to
Right.
call it the dark force. Well, what's the equation for the dark force? We don't know.
Right.
Well, your equation's shit.
Right.
It's the weak force. It's the unicorn force. It's the rainbow force.
Right.
I mean, call it whatever you want. It's bullshit because you're starting with a question, you're deriving an answer, trying to do the math to achieve your answer, but you have this big ass gap or several of them, like Einstein did, several gaps, and then you just make up something to throw it in there. It's like that's the way algebra has always bothered me. 2n squared. What's the value of 2? What's the I know the value of 2, and I know the value of squared. What's the value of n? Well, that's what you have to figure out.
Right.
No, because when I get done, I'm still gonna have an n, which is not that's still an equation. It's not an answer.
Right, and you have to watch out because
it's a trap.
You have to define your legitimate domain for n because there's some values of n that will break many equations.
That's my point.
Right.
But also, here's the thing. Without that ridiculous form of math that we use, where would we be?
Yeah, it's just
because it doesn't make it's ridiculous and it's not right. It's not correct. And a lot of it's made up to make the outcome be what you wanted it to be. But yet we have electric cars. I'm staring at two 27-inch flat screen TVs that are thinner than a fucking notebook I carried around as a kid. I got a camera. We got mics. We got all of this.
Well, we primarily have this because of Charles Proteus Steinmetz, according to Tim Wheeler, right? One guy, that took Tesla's basic starting point and gave us our electric grid, and nobody knows how it works.
Yep. What's funnier than shit is when I was in the Army, I was in SINGARS, signal intelligence. And they put us on this program I can't tell you too much about, but it was it was a handheld unit that was really cool. It's a handheld unit that you could put into a backpack unit. You just slide it down like you're putting a phone on a charger. But that backpack unit would radiate much farther. So your signal would go out much farther. But then you could take that backpack unit, take it out of its sleeve, and you could slap it into the back of a unit in a Humvee, and it would take it worldwide.
Wow. Nice.
So it was like this 3-stage. It was brilliant in thinking. It was really well thought out on the bench. And they're sitting there drawing it out.
Yeah.
But they sent them to Iraq.
Hey, I got a question. Since you mentioned signals, right?
Yeah.
So how come is it
Charlie
every
447?
time,
He's about to go flat on you again.
How come is it every time that you drive out of a major city, you start to lose your cell service? Because satellites are supposed to be floating around and real, right? I shouldn't lose cell service, right?
Most cell service is done by towers. I worked for Day Wireless Communications for about 6 years. And that was one of my jobs, is to go up the tower sites and maintenance them. And if there's no tower and you're not on Skylink or whatever from Elon Musk, you ain't getting shit. Or you got a satellite phone, you ain't getting nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but my point
regular
is,
cell phones don't talk to satellites.
They only have cell towers only have a certain range, and any obstruction like a mountain or that's why they put them up as high as they can to get the most coverage. You put it in a valley, the signal's blocked out by the valley or trees or any kind of shit like that. That's why they're 120, 220 feet tall, and they've got those little dealios, the microwave transponders on them. That's why they are located where they are. And I loved it because I used to, during a hunting season, I could carry my rifle in my company truck. because I'd go in and do lock gates up and into off of logging roads and whatever to a leased property to go check on the tower. And if I saw a deer, well, I saw a deer. Nobody cared. Almost everybody else there in Oregon had a hunting rifle in their work truck during hunting season. Because when you're out working in these areas doing these communication things, you're out and about.
Yeah.
And so,
Rev.
Anyways, I sent a video. I made an error. It's the Prussian school system, not the Austrian school system.
Oh, okay. Right. I see that link. It's 11 minutes long.
Yeah, I know that, but I wanted to send it to you.
I've
go
got
down
it.
the rabbit
It's on
hole.
deck. I might put it on for like
Prussian. That's interesting.
Friday.
Well,
that goes back a long way.
The main reason why is because they got their ass handed to them. They ran away from battle. They wanted a better way to get their soldiers to participate without fear. And it's part of the system that they developed, and it came to America.
Okay.
And a guy named Gatto wrote the book on it, and this is what the videos are based off of. And you know what's funny? It's still on YouTube under School Sucks.
Nice.
That's ironic.
I thought so too.
I'm going to open up another page real quick. I got to grab that link. I got to get that from you. I want to watch that.
It's actually interesting as hell. I watched the hell out of it, and it's spot on.
I'm going to show it to Mr. Anderson. He loves that stuff.
You said the video is called School Sucks?
No, that's the channel that it comes from.
Okay.
Oh, Yoda, I'll send it to you on a DM.
All right, cool.
He's got an interesting logo for his intro. The red bird with the three columns, the black and white hands shaking.
It's the full-on Duppy Files.
It's sweet. Symbolism is really important. People don't think so. We've lost the importance as a society. I believe we've lost the importance of what symbolism is and how to read it and how to recognize what it is. In some courtrooms, you'll see a fasci on the back wall.
Yeah.
And you know what a fasci is, right? The bundle of sticks, the bound sticks with the axe sticking out the top. You'll see that in some courtrooms.
Right.
And when you see that, you're under a different legal system.
Yeah.
A way different legal. We have 4 different legal systems. People don't know that either.
Isn't that maritime?
You have admiralty or maritime admiralty law. You have common law, which is law of the land. And then you have the color of law,
which is a lot of the COVID crap we got.
The color of law is what get you traffic tickets.
Yeah.
Because, see, people are confusing law of the land, because there are laws of the land, and then there's color of law. And so when you use color of law, you can violate laws of the land. And this all goes, I could go on for hours about it, but I'm not. But it all goes right back to the difference between the United States of America and the United States. Because the United States uses color law. The United States of America uses common law. And admiralty maritime is for shipping and commerce. So anything to do with commerce, you sell me a pack of smokes, that's commerce. That's why you get taxed.
Right.
If you're not engaged in commerce, you don't owe a tax. Under common law, under the color of law, you're paying regardless.
Right.
But one is constitutional, one is not.
So do you have a thought on one of the phrases that really sticks with me is Paul saying, obey the local ordinances and it will go well with you. You know, he's basically giving common sense. You know, he's giving you enough room to use your conscience to decide whether you're going to
fight it.
Exactly. So,
well, what you just said, G. Ross, is like saying obey the city statutes instead of common law.
But he says it as advice. He says it will go well with you.
No, basically, what he's saying is, if you don't go along with our corruption, you're going to pay a price.
Yeah.
But Paul, so I hold him in pretty high regard. I think he's giving advice to like get through tough situation.
Oh, he's basically saying, all right, so our statutes aren't laws.
No.
So
Like
Paul was trying to carve out a church that could function without clashing with governments. So he was trying to ease this new thing into this place where it could coexist.
Basically, don't rock the boat.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't buck the horse. Yeah. And you'll be okay. Whether it's right or wrong, just be cool.
Yep.
Kind of. Now he's leaving it to a matter of conscience.
He's transitioning between church and state. He's keeping that separation. The state is the oppression.
Right.
So he's saying, you might put up with some shit. You might not. Some things might happen to you that are unjust.
Right.
But just go along with it to be okay. Get along to go.
That's what I think he's saying.
Get along to go along. Yeah.
Now, he may have known, he may have had enough knowledge to realize that eventually when it's truly a worldwide, well-run church, like when it's under the iron rod of Jesus, it's going to win. But right now, it's coexisting.
Well, you know what? Back to what Uncle Krusty was just saying. The differences between these different types of laws, a lot of this stuff, especially like the maritime stuff, that started out of Rome.
Actually, it was earlier as Phoenicians. It was the Phoenicians way before Rome.
That's the Duppy.
Well, Duppy would jump to that too.
Yeah, it'd be you're talking 6,000 BCE. So, or no, what was it? 2000? Yeah, no. About 6,000 BCE.
Yeah.
But didn't the Vatican take over
the Phoenicians were the ocean traders.
Yeah.
And so there'd be taxes and tariffs exchanged, and there would be bill of sale. There would be, a bill, an inventory, a ticket. They're all the same thing. A notice, it's a notice. A notice, a bill, a ticket. Those are all the same things. A poster. Those are all the same words for the same thing. A bill of lading.
Is there a strong? I'm making a leap here, but the Japhethites, because there's the Shemites, the Hamites, and the Japhethites.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm fascinated by the fact that there's three major, three sons of Noah.
Everything's threes, man.
Isn't it?
Everything's threes.
So the Japhethites became seafaring. So I'm kind of wondering if the Phoenicians were strongly Japhethite people group.
That would be a good Duppy question.
I've asked him that before. He's not sure yet, but he doubles in brain power every 2 months, so maybe I should ask him again.
I'd like to meet that guy one day. Actually, there's a lot of football people I'd like to meet.
I still want to have coffee with you, Black Yoda, but
hey, we can do
haven't
it.
Hooked up yet? I know we can. You just down the street.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, because wait, I thought you were in Tucson.
No, I'm in Tolleson.
Oh, that's right. I knew it was a T somewhere in there. There's a couple foxholes here in Arizona.
That could make an interesting show.
Yeah, it would.
Especially if we were all there on camera.
Oh man, that would be fun. That'd be a lot of fun. There's plenty of people on the foxhole, especially the ones in the beginning, that I would like to, do some kind of meetup, But we got to see what's going to happen with this economy because
it's going to collapse.
Yeah,
it has no choice.
That's guaranteed.
The dollar doesn't have a choice, but I think something will be instituted to compensate for the loss of the dollar.
Oh, yeah. It's called central bank digital currency.
It'll be worse than the dollar for sure.
No, the Fed coin has already been released last year. It's going to be it's called CBDC, Central Bank Digital Currency, and it'll be government run, government owned. And if they don't like what you say on YouTube or something, they just turn your bank account off.
They threatened to do that like months ago, and it still hasn't done anything.
It'll be out.
It's a slow drip. It's already out. You can go buy FedCoin. You can put your money into FedCoin and let the government control it. And because they allure you with, they'll give you X amount of free FedCoin if you start an account, and then you'll earn interest. But how you do that in a digital currency, I have no idea. It
sounds
fraud.
like a sheeple trap to me.
It is the scam of the Federal Reserve 2.0.
Yeah.
Actually,
it's opt-in, it sounds like.
You just reminded me of something.
Well, remember when they were giving people hamburgers and money to get the shot?
Yes.
It's the same thing. If they're giving you something for free to get in on it, you're getting screwed.
Sorry, Black Yoda, I interrupted you.
Austria had brothels that was giving up the vajayjay. If you could spend a half hour with the vajayjay if you got the shot in Austria.
No way.
That's great.
Look it up. I beg you to look it up.
No, I'm good, Austria. Man. I'm good. I don't need that in my life.
You know,
the Austria brothels got together with the government over there in Austria. I forget if it was a half hour with the vajayjay or an hour. But if you got the shot, you were good to go. For your charge.
Most dudes would take a 5-minute hand job, but so they were being very generous. We're doomed. I
posted a video about a day or two ago, and it was talking about how a check was written to cover a good chunk of the like 20 trillion of our national debt. And it went down that whole rabbit hole of the different things that's happening with currencies around the world right now. And I meant to look that up today, and I forgot about it. And I didn't think about it until just right now. So I'll touch on that later. Whatever I learned from that, I'll speak on that later. But it makes me curious because I know something is going to have to give. They've been
talking about bricks. Are you talking about bricks?
This isn't a brick situation.
Oh, okay. As I say, 84 other countries have applied and 5 more have been accepted. So BRICS already has control of 40% of the entire world's economic funding.
Yeah.
40%. The American dollar is toast. There's no recovery from this.
I told my uncle because we bought currencies from other countries.
Oh, you're smart. You're smart. Gold backed money. Because BRICS is all gold backed.
Iraq is going to be one of them, and I told him, I was like, dude, we're going to have to spend this money hard and fast before people realize the dollar has no value. Mm-hmm. And I was like, dude, we're going to have to buy land, precious metals, property alone, unless you have the allodial title, isn't going to be enough. You know what I mean? Like,
nope.
But no, this is touching on something else.
I give classes on here on Foxhole sometimes during the day about allodial titles, land rights, quick claims, etc., tax, all of that. Yeah. So I know exactly where you're coming from, man. But here's the thing: God created everything once. He's not going to create more land.
Right.
Well, if you go past the ice wall, you will see it.
I'll get there.
I love you, brother. I do.
Impeachamal says, Yoda, I have to ask, Impeachamal asks, does flat Earth have mountains?
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
You know what? That's when you get into meltology, though. Some of these land masses that we would call, like a mountain or something, I've seen pictures of ones that they're melted, and you can see where the structure was in it, like where like a rock window or something, or a doorway, and how it was just melted over. Something happened that burnt this shit up. Not just burnt it up, but melted rock. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
I don't have the pictures on standby right now, but dude, I've seen so many pictures They call it meltology.
I've never heard that term, but
dude, write that one down. You're gonna have fun with that one.
I do know Randall Carlson though. He's done a lot of work with Graham Hancock and what have you on a lot of religious sites and such all around the world. And then Randall Carlson, he does geology, and his focus is catastrophism. And he has the science for the mega floods. And when you look at a topographical map of the United States of America, of all of North America, you can see what happened right at 11,800 to 11,600 years ago. There's only about a 200. They can't pin it down tighter than 200 years of a gap, but the shit happened really, really fast. There's 2.5 miles of ice over all of northern, what we call the northern United States now, and all the way up across into the ice cap. And within 200 years, they can't figure out. The only question, they have no question about how it was done. They only have a question of what was the source of energy that caused all that ice to melt, because the source of that energy would have had to have been exponential. You're talking 10 to the order of 23 in energy. It's just, where did that energy blast come from that made it happen within a week to a month? Everything on our landscape was carved the fuck out and shoved into the ocean, and the ocean went up 400 feet. And if you look at if you look at the map, you can see the shelves of detritus, the washout that's below the surface now, but you go by elevation and you can see the entire washout.
That's what happened to the Grand Canyon. That didn't happen because of the Colorado River. It got blew up.
No, it didn't happen over tens of millions of years. It happened in a matter of a month.
Yeah.
And so, but here's the thing. It's in the Bible. Right. Every civilization on this planet, even Indians in remote places, they all have a flood myth story that goes back to that exact time period. They have drawings on rocks. They have, because they don't have books, the way that it was is, to be a shaman, you had to repeat the truth of history that you were told exactly word for word. And in Native Americans, to this day, they have to be able to do that. They have to learn all these stories verbatim with no mess-ups. And so when they tell you something, they'll say it's from, so many generations back or so many years back or what have you. But for the time of this, they go by events for time markers because they don't have fucking calendars.
Right.
So they do that, and we discredit them. A stupid discredit them.
Right.
And we shouldn't, because they're telling the truth. Yeah. Because it's a sacred right to repeat it properly. So if it's all around the world and it's in our Bible, it's in the great book, the book, then how is there a dispute?
Have you heard of
believers that never even heard of Jesus and believers, and we're all telling the same story at the same time frame, and the evidence is there for the same for everybody to see.
Right.
Have you heard of mud flood?
Oh yeah.
All right, so you know about the buried buildings and stuff, like. Okay, you're on the right track, bro. I promise you are.
I've done so much more work than you could ever imagine, my brother.
I believe you.
Yep.
I had a post-it note here. Where'd it go? I wanted to know what chapter you guys were in, or what book you were reading.
Genesis 41.
We got way off the book, and I feel bad.
Yeah, we covered our notes earlier. Genesis chapter 41. We're right at the halfway mark, verse 32 next week.
Okay. All right.
We're at the part where Joseph was just interpreting the Pharaoh's dream.
I found money in my Bible. It's the safest place to keep it because nobody's stealing a Bible if they break into your house.
Although for a while, our church was meeting at an elementary school, and we had all of our entire church in a trailer, and we would, crack it open. It had the sound system. It had little barriers to set up in the gym for kids, little, nurseries and stuff like that. So we had church in a box, basically.
Nice.
And one day, that
church
trailer
is two
was
or
up
more
and
people.
Right.
Yeah.
So one day that trailer was up and stolen. And the joke we made was, well, hope they noticed there was some Bibles in that trailer. Hope they're reading it.
Right. Well, actually, G. Ross, he just said church is two or more people. Didn't that change in the Bible? That's one of those Mandela effects.
Well, there's 4 of us here. We should be good.
Yeah, we're golden.
No, but when it comes to the number, there's something about that one. I think that one is a Mandela effect.
I don't think so. But
no, I remember because the
it
parable was when 2 or more meet under a tree, church is held.
No, the 2 isn't part of it no more. It says something else.
Oh, you're talking. Okay, so you're doing. We're going back to Mandela effect about the lion lays with the lamb, and now it's the lion lays with the wolf, or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Or the lamb lies with the wolf, and it's like, wait a minute. I grew up with that.
Yeah, it was the lion.
I'm a confirmed Episcopalian. I went through confirmation at 15 years old. Now there's no wolf. There's no wolf in the Bible, and also there was never geographically, if you want to go to biologically, if you want to go the science route, wolves weren't in that area. They didn't have wolves there. That's a North American thing. That's a Eastern Asian thing. Russia has wolves, etc. But in that area, no, it was lions. You're dealing with fucking Africa. There's no wolves in Africa. There's lions in Africa. It doesn't make sense for a lamb to lie with a wolf unless it's a parable.
So
I've never said a wolf.
Another one is the book of Revelations. If you open up your Bible, there's no S at the end. It's Revelation.
Revelation 1, plural.
Yeah. But yeah, I forget. Can you Google that real quick? What does it say? 2 or more people, G. Ross?
I'm looking up the Hebrew word for wolf. The pictograph is an agricultural implement representing harvesting food. So it's the food of the house.
Would they even have a word for wolf? Because wolves weren't over there.
No, they had lions.
The jackals.
They fed Christians to lions. They didn't feed them to wolves.
They had
I don't think that part changed.
Daniel was not in a den of wolves. He was in a den of lions. So where'd this wolf come along?
Well, there is this old word, supposedly. It's called ze'eb or zehabe.
No.
It's a yellow animal.
Like a lion?
Yeah. So we just translated it poorly.
It's not. It wasn't. Look in your book right now. It's not there. It's a wolf now. It used to be he lied with a lion.
Well,
we
right,
learned
but what
this
I'm trying
as
to do,
children. Our parents taught this when we were babies.
Well, sure, but we get it from.
They never said wolf.
So in Isaiah chapter 11, it says, "Shall dwell the yellow monster creature, yellow icky animal, with the lamb."
Icky? I don't think Isaiah said icky.
It's the word ze'eb, and I'm just looking up to see what that word means. There's only 7 usages in the Old Testament. Some kind of yellowish predatory animal.
Kind of like a lion.
It might be a lion.
Okay, wolves. Have you ever seen a yellow wolf?
No.
I don't think there one exists.
So we just translated it for crap. You know what I mean?
Maybe, maybe not.
Oh, that's interesting. There's that work of the Zionists involved.
Yes.
It makes me wonder how far back that goes.
Sure.
Well, that's me.
Yeah. Because, yeah. So Yoda wanted me to look something up, 2 or more. So in context, that thing that I'm pretty sure we're talking about, it's more of like a multiplicity of you guys can represent me legally in the church is essentially what he's saying. 2 or more.
No, but before it specifically was saying 2 or more.
Yeah,
I was taught that my whole life.
It's always been 2 or more. Because when I used to go to my buddy Pete, his school teacher, is my best friend for over 30 years. I go hang out with him. I was like, "You ready to have church?" That was our thing,
right?
Because we're both Christians, but we would get together and eat and talk and smoke weed. That's what we did. But we would hold church and we would talk. We would talk about things.
My cat wants to go inside. I'll be right back.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
so it still says, Yoda, wherefore are 2 or 3 gathered together unto my name, there am I in the midst of them. Oh, 2 or 3 gathered. Yeah. Not 2 or more. But that implies 2 or more.
Well, it's the same thing. More than 2. If you have a minimum of 2, that's it. That's all that's required. Is 2 people talking about the Lord, 2 people praying together. It's talking about bringing your powers together and sharing like-minded belief.
Right.
That's all that's important. That's all that's required.
That's right.
And the more you have, the more powerful your session is. And that's why churches are important, because it brings people together of like mind. And so it's magnifying the power of like-minded praying people.
As Matt likes to call it, the heart-centered reality bubble. You bring them together.
Yeah. But it works logarithmically. So the more you have, the more powerful the projection of prayer is. And it's bizarre to me that people believe in the power of prayer, which is proven. We've all seen it, especially even here on Foxhole. The remarkable recoveries through prayer of many, many people. And we've seen it in real life. I've seen it in real life. A good friend of mine was going to die. He should have died several times. And the church group, we'd all get together. We'd go circle his entire bed while he's in a coma. And we'd all hold hands and we'd pray over him. His name's Jared, and he's rocking and rolling, married, back on his feet. They said he would never wake up, and if he did, he would never walk again. And he woke up. He's walking, and he got married, had kids, and has an incredible career. So, if there was nobody there for him, would his outcome have been different? If he was all alone in that
medical.
medical
The prayer of a righteous person accomplishes much, says the word.
Yeah.
There's something to it. But see, if you believe in the power of prayer, it would be ridiculous not to believe in the power of witchcraft.
Right. Amen, brother.
Dark magic and white magic. That is just as real. I know that prayer is real, and I fear the powers of magic because it's ungodly.
A lot of times, and I don't do this every time, but if we pray over food, I'll pray that any curses would be cleansed. Because the witches will come by and they'll curse grocery store aisles. They've said they do that.
I have a YouTube link. I forget the channel name off the top of my head, but say you're at a restaurant and you got the workers in the back frustrated. Some of them might be a little grumpy, mad at each other, and they're cussing at each other or angry vibes. And all of that energy is getting put onto your food.
Right.
Versus when you cook at home for the people that you care about, you're putting love energy into it. You're not even measuring. You just go by the ancestors and just, throw some salt here, throw some pepper there.
Oh, scratch cooked, brother.
Yeah. So if you do pray over your food and you putting all that good into it, it's healthier for you. I believe in energy and all of that. You know what I mean?
I'm
Yeah,
glad you
I
do.
believe in all of that.
I'm glad you do, because you're on the right path. That's what we do. I cook almost all meals. Daily Insanity cooks some. She made some really, really good potato ham soup last night. But no, we cook by scratch
Yeah,
and by taste, and we
yeah,
cook because we love each other.
yeah, yeah.
And
Oh man,
we
and then,
want each other to, you see, to me, it's to impress her with something good. It's like, can I make you a dish that you're really into?
for me, it's
I'm
not
not
so much.
just making you food. I'm making you
It's
something
not
to make you
for
happy.
me. It's not so much can I impress you. It's the fact that I want you to be healthy. I want you to stay alive. You don't like my
Yeah.
roommate
Right.
is old, man. Like
Nourishment.
so when I cook, I get mad at her sometimes. Like if she pisses me off about something when I'm cooking, I gotta hold in that negative response because I don't want it getting on the food. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's like, I believe in that kind of shit.
Hey, G. Ross, did you talk about water frequencies that we talked about last time on Armor Up? About your thought intention disrupts or harmonizes water molecules, and when you're
Oh, I,
you're
I I
cooking
know about
mostly
that stuff.
with moisture, with
I know
water
about that
molecules.
stuff.
So your intention while
Yeah.
you're cooking will affect the volume of the quality of your food.
I don't know if we've covered that, Black Yoda and I. But hey,
Not me
Rev,
and you,
But
but I'm
he's on the
aware of
same
it.
page. He's talking about the same thing.
Like I know about water can retain memory,
Yes.
and a lot of times when I do want to talk to God or pray, I do it when I'm in the shower because I got that
Mhm.
water on me. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And that's a conduit, or an amplifier. I don't know which way you want to put it, but no, water is a thing.
you know,
There's a Japanese scientist that put rice in a jar and
Mhm.
filled it up with water.
He did, and the intention, his
Yeah, and
intention. I saw
he
that. I
treated
saw
one
that too.
jar real negative. He treated the other one real positive, and the negative one got all rotten and just
Yep.
nasty. Yeah.
Yep. And
let me
actually, that is a legitimate video because I've seen the white paper for it in the
Okay.
Journal of Nature. So that is a legitimate video.
So
There's
like
a
when
lot
you
of bullshit out there. You gotta vet the sources on YouTube. You really do. A
yeah,
let me
lot of it's
but
80% of it's bullshit.
when you make the comment, if prayer is rare, so is witchcraft. Oh, dude, those truer words couldn't have been said better. You know.
Mm.
let me read the second sentence of the Bible. Earth was formless and void. The darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was moving over the surface of the waters. So the word there for darkness over the deep is it's a very gloomy, tangible darkness. It's an unpleasant darkness. The surface of the deep, that's the face of the deep. So that'd be like, I'm thinking that's ocean, or at least what's going to be ocean, because we know that there hasn't been land yet. And then the Spirit of God was moving over the surface of the waters. So those are two different words, deep and waters. The waters in the second phrase are more like shallow waters, or the kinds that you'd see in rivers or lakes, the kinds that are eventually going to be over land, I think. But the one other thing I want to point out is the Spirit of God was moving over the surface. The word there is very cultivating and tender, like the way you might tend a garden. And I'll stop there, but I just wanted to throw that out there, that there's water can have an attitude, like there's bad water and good water in that sentence, from what
Yes.
I'm seeing.
Yes. You're right. Yeah. That's a good observation, man. Really good observation. That's true. And see, there again, more validation that the word of the Bible, the word of the book is good.
Yes.
It's true. It's accurate because there is good water and there is bad water. And it does by intention.
Right. God's intention seems
You
to matter.
know, Uncle Krusty, G. Ross knows this about me. You probably don't. I was raised with my grandparents, and they made for damn certain I went to Sunday school every Sunday, went to Awana every Wednesday, and
Good for them.
but
No,
I
that makes me happy. That makes me happy.
So I mean, I had a great foundation, with Christianity, but I didn't necessarily believe. It wasn't until I got older and saw how much evil is in the world that I started asking questions, right? And I would have to say probably about the last 10 years or so, I've gotten a lot closer to where I'm supposed to be versus where I was,
Can I ask you how old you are?
47.
All right. I'm 52. So we're right about the same age, and I think we've lived about the same life. I was raised in it without choice. I went along with it and I got to know it. And then I went away and I went to science and I was like, this God thing isn't for me. Drugs, alcohol, problems, jail, all that stuff. Got out, military, straightened up, went professional, did really well. And then, similar to you, I started asking the real questions, the real questions, because I'd
Yeah.
seen too much. I'd seen too many people die, and I'd seen so many things happen that shouldn't happen, and then started questioning why would that happen, and why to them, and doing all that kind of stuff, because you can only go to so many funerals before you start looking to God, because there's got to be something.
Well, for me, it's a little different. Like, I only know of a few people that have passed away, but I've always had warnings throughout my life about bad things that were about to happen. Sometimes it'll happen right before, during, or maybe a month ahead of time. Like there's always been this extra presence in my life that I've never been able to explain, and it's a part of me. It's almost like, I wouldn't say guardian angel because it's something that's in me and a part of me, but it's outside of me because I can't control it. You know what I mean?
Called God, my friend.
But that's where I'm going with it, and
that gut feeling, that sixth sense when your hair stands up on your neck, all that. That is it's not your sixth sense, it's your first sense, because that's the installation of God. God gives you that intuition. God gives you that, you start to walk across the street and it's like, whoa, you pull back for no good reason. And then something comes screaming by that would have just killed you. Or you're in traffic and you're just bopping along, listening to jamming to tunes or whatever, minding your own business. And then for some reason you decide to pull over and get gas, even though you don't need that much, or you decide you want something to drink or taste. And then you do that, and then there's a massive fucking pile up with semis right there.
Right.
There's those things that's your first sense. That's God. What we call the sixth sense is wrong. It's not the sixth sense. It's not the weakest of them. It's the most important of them. It's our survival. And that survival rate, that is God within us, because God doesn't want us to physically die. He wants our spirit to stay here until we learn how to live to be a good being.
Right.
And if we keep screwing up, we keep getting recycled. Keep getting recycled. We just come back until we learn our lesson. So if you don't learn your lesson now, you're going to come back again, and you're going to have the same problems, if not more, to relearn. So get it right now in this life.
Right. So even though I was raised, Baptist and in the church, I didn't have that connection, but I always had that sense that you're talking about, right? And like I said, I don't control it. It just happens out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's not in your control.
You know what I mean?
It's God's not in your hand. You're in His hand.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know, but he's that is Him telling you. That is Him trying to protect you, or your guardian angels trying to protect you.
One of them, yeah. And so,
Michael,
as I got
Michael
older,
is mine accordingly, I guess. Michael is my guardian angel.
As I got older and I started to piece things together and start to ask certain questions, even though I felt like I was disconnected, I still had that same sense
Mm-hmm.
about me. And I held on to that shit. I wasn't letting that go for nothing. You know what I mean?
You don't have a choice, man, because if you lose that sense, you're dead. That is the essence of your soul. If you get disconnected from God, even no matter the worst serial killer on the planet is still connected to God. And until you disconnect from that willfully, and once you do, you're dead. And that means committing suicide, dying, what have you. That's the disconnect.
Right. I never really looked at it like that, but I could see your point.
You're never going to lose it because it's you're born of that. That is the spark. That is your soul. That is your spirit.
Well, I
So
guess
if
what
you're lying on a scale and you pass away, that scale is going to read lighter.
I've heard about that.
Yeah, it's a scientific fact. It's proven. It's not bullshit.
I guess what I'm
that is the spark of God. That is the spark of life that was given to you in your mother's womb.
I guess what I'm saying is, when I was younger and felt disconnected, even though I had that sense, I never realized that they were one and the same until I got older.
I was disconnected too. I was disconnected, but the battery was still there.
Right.
You can unplug the battery, but the battery is still charged up and the battery is still there and the battery is still going to function to a certain degree. But if you reconnect yourself, you get the full power of that battery. And that battery is God. Or what we call God is, we don't have a better name. I say divine creator because I don't like the word God so much.
I feel you on that one because
I prefer divine creator because if you the first commandment, thou shalt have no other gods, plural, before me. So okay, who are these other gods? Name these other gods. Which ones should I not put before you?
Right. Zeus, Athena, Hermes,
Astarte,
Hades, Mars, Jupiter. I mean, those are just Greek and Roman ones. I didn't even start with the Egyptian ones yet. You know what I mean?
Do you understand my point, though?
No, Joseph married Astarte. Didn't we say that?
Our God is acknowledging that there are already other pre-existing gods. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Our God is acknowledging that there are other existing gods, and he's demanding our faith just to him.
And he says on top of that,
in the Bible, that God is called him.
And he says in the good book, on top of what you just said, I'm a jealous God.
Yes. And that goes back to competing with other gods against the most followers. You want the biggest army. Isn't that a saying? Army of God?
Yeah.
And how do you have it? You have to have the faithful. I was in the army, and guess what they demand? Faith.
Well, you would have to have some strong faith to carry out some of those orders,
You got to be as a Christian as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy.
This is a fantastic conversation. I'm so glad you allowed me to step in.
Thanks.
Ross.
Every Wednesday, Uncle Krusty. And when it's not football season, we go to about 2 Central.
Oh, okay.
During Anderson's football season, at least in middle school, those 2 years, I had to kind of cut it short at around 1 a.m.
Yeah, I remember when you're going to the games. Yeah.
Yeah, keep up with that.
Which is good on you. I thank you for being a great father.
Oh yeah, it's
not many of them around anymore.
Understood, and I really appreciate what you just said, because it helps keep people straight. Because what Barbara and I do with Mr. Anderson, he likes to call himself on the Foxhole. His first name is Anderson. Actually, Black Yoda talked to him.
He's popped into my channel from time to time. Not very often, but once in a while.
I forget why I asked him to do that.
Well, because he was calling himself Angular, and you found out he was Anderson.
Oh,
And
that's right.
then
That's
you were
right.
like, well, you got to call yourself Mr. Anderson, like from
I
The
always thought it
Matrix.
was a Matrix thing.
Well, when we named him Anderson, we knew about that movie, and we're like, hey, it's not uncool. You know, we figured it would be
No,
an
actually,
okay
it's
side
really
effect.
cool, Mr.
Yeah.
Anderson, because
Hell yeah.
Mr. Smith and Mr. Anderson.
Yeah.
Yeah, the original Matrix movie was epic. So when he was like Mr. Anderson, it's Anderson. It's like my brain went straight to Mr. Anderson, the Matrix, somebody cool. See how this works? See how the neural net works?
Yes.
Neurology is brilliant. It's a fascinating rabbit hole, man.
But we try to just free range that kid, like soft bumpers on the far out sides, We're very present in his life, but we
Free
try
range,
not to be
so he doesn't eat any corn. He just grazes on the grass out in the yard.
He likes pizza. That's what free range pizza.
I don't think it qualifies as I don't want to eat a cow that's been eating pizza and called free range.
No. But we try not to
just
like if he expresses an interest in something, we try really hard to just be like, okay, that's interesting, and like let him just explore it without telling him what we think. And what's funny is, you can't zero that out perfectly. He's gonna pick up, the culture that we are. But what's funny is I think by leaving him alone, he reaches what I see as common sense.
I forgot how I added this to the
long-winded reply, but
no, my son just went into in the Army. I think you already know that.
Yeah.
And it was a battle to get him there.
Mm.
And you're doing a fantastic job as a father, and I greatly appreciate that because I look around everywhere and I see nothing but a bunch of the few dads that I see with their kids are doing a great job. But for the most part, there's not that many of them. The problem is there's an alarmingly small amount of men that are taking care of their kids.
Right.
You're talking about different solitaire.
They're not present in their kid's life. Yep.
No,
well, you talked about how the government wants to insert itself. Well, after it's done that, it now wants to individually insert itself as the head of every household.
They've already done it. It's called CPS.
Yeah.
It's called public housing. It's called Section 8.
Yep.
And
right.
Black Yoda, you're in Arizona, right?
Phoenix.
All right. Do you know where Palm Avenue is?
Yeah, that's down the street from me.
Yeah, real total shithole.
Depends on what. It depends on if you're central, east, or west. Yeah.
I managed 80 unit Section 8 apartment complex on Palm.
Palm in what?
Shit, I can't remember. The bottle bin shop was right up the road. That's all I know.
Because you're talking about like the McDowell area, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bad.
It really just depends on.
It was bad, dude. It was bad. Because that's where all the baby mamas lived on Section 8. And when the dudes got out of jail or prison, they came back and they destroyed that place. We had so many cops were there all the time.
Actually, both sides.
I hated that fucking job.
Both sides of Central, going east and west on Palm Lane.
It was south of Central. Palm is south of Central, if I remember right.
No. They should go. Central is north and south. Palm should be east and west.
Okay, then it was off of Central, and it was about I'd say 3-4 blocks, about 4 blocks from Central.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Because
4 blocks from Central.
The closer you get to Central on either the east side or the west side of Central, it's pretty rough.
It would have been the west side.
So the farther out you get, the better it gets. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. No, there was Central, and then there's Palm, and there was a drive-through liquor store over here where everybody would go, and then they'd come back to the complex, and it was a disaster. I hated that place, man. I had guns put in my face. I had knives put on me. I had my license plates stolen. I had my car vandalized. They hated me for just trying to provide a decent place for them. What are you going to bed, Ross? You snuggling up?
Well,
I didn't
normally
want to interrupt you guys, but I wanted to start the kind of long process of tearing down the green screen, which I do just because of the corner.
Uncle Krusty, we would have stopped the show about an hour and a half ago.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Football
I'll let
season's
you go.
over. No, we
I'll let you
Yoda,
go.
we can extend it to now.
I can get out of here.
No.
I'm really sorry, guys. I just love talking to you. You're great. You're great to talk to. You're excellent. You're smart. You're educated, and you're agreeable to disagree if we stumble across something that we don't fight.
Dude, gotta open your eyes when you're ready.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't let those hairs stand up on the back of your neck, my friend.
That's funny.
All right, man. If you want to get out of here,
we'll do it again next week. Anytime you want, Uncle Krusty. The Wednesday show is always at 11 Central.
So that's midnight my time.
Yes. Midnight your time on Wednesdays.
Yeah, see, that's why I've never been on your show, is because I always start at midnight, Wednesday through Friday, and Sundays. But I can carve out time for it.
Yeah.
When I
Dude, it's nice talking to you, bro, because I haven't talked to you in I don't even remember the last time I talked to you.
It's been like a year and a half.
Yeah.
Man. When I first set out, I captured 3 time slots, and I went with what I could see and what I understood, but I didn't know the whole place. So, I leave you alone on Thursdays and Fridays. Sorry that I'm...
No, it's all good, man. It's all good. Hey, Yoda.
Yeah.
We talked a year and a half ago or so. But
probably in the chat.
Yeah, it was all in chat. The difference is we didn't know that we were on the same page. We were running parallel. You were doing the same thing, I was doing the same thing, but we weren't connected. And now, because of G Ross, we're connecting. Those parallels are coming together, and there's like a new neural network. Because now there's 3 people, there's 3 minds, there's 3 people of faith that are moving through. So I have it marked down that Genesis 41, correct?
Yep.
Yes, we're going to start on verse 32 because we did up to 31 today.
Okay. We usually go.
Well, I want to stay on topic,
Yeah.
We usually go chapter by chapter, but he kind of punked out on this chapter and only wanted to do half.
Yoda gets after me.
No, I'm not going to come onto the show when you're talking, when you're working your way through the Bible. I'm not going to come onto the show and take the train off the rails. That's not my intention.
We do that ourselves.
Okay. But I don't want to be a corrupter, so if that's what you're going to do, then I'll study up on 43.
41.
41.
I'll study up
32.
41.
Second half of 41, basically.
Wasn't that George Bush?
And so normally the way we do it, him and I we'll talk some shit, and then he leaves the Just link open. So if anybody like Duppy, Thaggy, yourself, Belushi, whoever, if they want to come in, they're more than welcome.
Cool,
the people that normally drop by, the door is always open. You know what I mean?
Right on. I really appreciate talking to you guys.
You're
fans.
Wait, hold on.
You're good humans. You are some good humans.
Bernie.
That's my roommate that has the lady boner for you, bro.
Hello.
Hi. How are you?
I'm good.
Do you want me to take my hair out and get all sexy? Take my hair tie out?
Ah, shit.
Hey,
I need a shower. I got to shower and shave so bad. It's been a couple of days. I'm a slob. I've been sleeping so much. I've been burnt out. I've been working too much.
When does daylight savings time end?
That's a good question.
Doesn't daylight savings do its thing in November?
Yeah, early November, I think.
They move it all the time. Who
They
knows?
Do. It's part of that Prussian school system.
We don't change. Arizona doesn't change.
I know. All my family lives in Arizona. I got 23 family members in Arizona. They're north of you.
Where's he at now?
You said you were in.
I'm gonna be in Arizona pretty soon.
Oh, dude, you're gonna have to hit me up.
Are you kidding me?
Right.
I'd be insulted.
I think you said you were in Georgia, right?
I am. Yeah, I live in North Georgia. Yeah.
Yeah.
But my parents, my brother, my sister, their kids, and their kids all live there. So I've got 23 family members that live just north of you.
Oh, really?
And yeah, I'm a great uncle. So 7 of the kids, well, actually 6, and 1 is in the bun in the oven, live just north of you.
Okay. Yeah,
you know where New River is?
Not off the top. That doesn't sound familiar.
I've heard of
it. Interstate 17 headed north towards Flagstaff.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. You're talking about Black Canyon Freeway.
Mm-hmm.
I live in the streets. Like, I live off of 26th Street in Thomas.
All right. Well, we're talking horse riders, cowboy hats, chaps, and rattlesnakes and shit like that.
Yeah.
My parents live in a decent place. They're in Sunset West.
Okay. Yeah, that's out there. That's on the west side.
Yeah.
That's like the Peoria
north.
That's like
I used to live in Goodyear.
It's further.
Yeah, Goodyear that's like directly west of me.
Yeah,
you know
that's wet. When you leave Goodyear, you're going into endless miles of desert.
Dude, there's a lot of development. I don't know when the last time you were here. They got hella development out there now.
Where the fuck are they getting all the water?
Fuck if I know.
Colorado,
dude, I'm talking housing
No,
development.
the Colorado River is like a piss stream these days.
Yeah,
they've sucked all the water out of it.
Dude, they must have dropped hella pipe because, dude, there's all kind of homes out there in Goodyear now.
How about past Buckhead? Because Buckhead is west of Goodyear.
Oh, you mean Buckeye?
Or Buckeye, yeah.
Same thing.
All
hella
developed
homes.
now?
Hella homes, dude. Back in the day, they used to have like those double
Where do
wide
all these people work?
They got companies out there now, bro.
I'm gonna trip balls when I go back out there.
Dude, it's so
I
much.
haven't been there in 6 years.
Oh, dude, they got a whole nother freeway over there, the 303.
Oh, I know the 303. They were working on that for 5 years while I was living there.
Yeah. They got a whole
I know the 303.
Dude, they got the Cardinals.
They got the Cardinals. I drove the 303 when it was a 2-lane road.
Dude, they got the Cardinals Stadium out there on off the 303.
I've seen it. I've seen that fucked up done where they had the rollout turf that gets sunburnt and all the grass dies and then they push it back in. I've seen that catastrophe. That's like, how much did that cost? $90 or $120 million to build that ridiculous thing? It's like, oh, this grass is going to stay in the shade. We're going to water it and then roll it out into the midday sun. And it all fries and dies. And then they roll it back in and put in AstroTurf. That was the biggest, funniest scandal ever. Dude, I know. I can't tell you how many Coyotes hockey games I've been to.
Oh, okay.
I got shirts, I got hats, I got ribbons, I got all kinds of stuff from the Coyotes hockey. I'm a hockey fan. I like hockey.
Right.
But yeah, it's nutty, dude. It blows me away that we're strangers, we're brother strangers, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But you know what? You get a lot of that with the people that are on the foxhole.
You know what? 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, for the years that I was living down in Phoenix, there's a reasonable percentage of a chance that we cross paths at some point and didn't even know it.
It wouldn't surprise me. Stranger things have happened in my life.
No, you just do the math, and it's like, well, if you're in this area for a certain amount of time, eventually you're going to cross paths.
Eventually, yeah.
Yeah.
Where did you guys duck out to?
I'll bet you we might know some same people.
It wouldn't surprise me. Especially when I was younger. I used to get around, bro.
I see his shadow. That's all I see.
Well, you know, yeah, I already told you I worked on Palm. So, you know, everybody around there got around. And my family was out of town, so I got around too.
I never had a reason to be. I don't like going to downtown Phoenix. It's just too much.
I hate it.
You know,
last time I went to downtown Phoenix, I got pulled over because I had a black man as a passenger. And he was a Vietnam vet. He was my roommate. We played chess, we played darts, and the Wii game bowling. And we would take turns doing that. He was my best friend. And I had to take him down to the Veterans Administration, down to the hospital, the VA hospital in Phoenix.
Yeah.
And there was a cop sitting on a side street. And when he saw me, you know, a white dude with a black dude in the car, there was no reason for him to pull us over. And he came up with some bullshit excuse about my tag. Like,
you're talking about the VA over there off of 7th Street in Indian School.
Yeah. And dude, they busted us. They shook him down. They shook me down. And I was like, man, this ain't right. He's a vet. I'm a vet. I'm taking him to the hospital because he doesn't have a car and he can't drive. He's not even capable of driving. Look at him, you know. You guys, this is wrong.
You remember that?
They realized it, and he wrote me a warning and let me go. They realized that it was a bad.
You remind me of
pullover.
You remind me of a time I got pulled over because I was driving at 2 a.m. from point A to point B, and he's like, "You're drunk, I know it." I'm like, "No."
2 a.m. You know,
right? And I'm like, you know, usually I would have said, "Yeah, you know, go easy on me," but in this case, I was like, "Nope." And he's like, "Yeah, blah." So he goes back to his car and he comes back and he goes, "You know, you're lucky we have another call for a, you know, domestic something or other because we're going to let you go this time." And I'm like, "Yeah, come on, man."
Yeah, because he didn't want a lawsuit.
Right. Exactly.
Hey, you guys remember the comedian Paul Mooney?
Oh, of course. Yeah. Mooney was, dude, he was groundbreaking. That dude busted some balls in his day. He got arrested for talking.
Dude, he was doing a skit.
He's still alive, isn't he?
No, he passed already, bro. Like a couple of years ago. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But he was doing a skit and he was talking about he was in a car driving somewhere with a friend of his and they get pulled over. And the cop comes up to the window and he was like, "License and registration." And he starts looking around and he was like, "What are you talking about? I'm not even driving this motherfucker." You know what I mean? Like, but because he was black in Beverly Hills, you know what I mean? So like that's what popped in my head when you were telling the story. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's still a problem with law enforcement.
For sure.
It's still a problem with law enforcement, and I don't want to be a family guy, but it grinds my gears. It truly does. It's like this black man, this Marine vet, has every right as everybody else.
Yep.
You know,
you assholes pulled me over for no good reason. I wasn't speeding. You said tags, but you were on a side street, so you couldn't even see my tags. You just pulled out behind me and then tried to make up a reason to pull me over because I was hanging out with a black man. So you thought we were dealing drugs.
Right.
He was selling drugs to the white kid. That's what they thought in their mind. And when I got out, I read them my rights, and I'm like, you know what? This is wrong. This is total bullshit.
Arizona has changed a lot, but you know, I've had encounters with the police, and I've met good ones. I've met bad ones. I've been in fights with some of them.
Haven't we all?
Yeah. No, I mean physical, bro.
Yeah, I know.
Like, yeah.
I know. I've been in jail 16 times, man, and there's a reason for it.
But No, I mean, with anything, dude, you're gonna have your good, your bad, and your ugly. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So that's just
Rotten
just
apples,
life.
you know.
That's just life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You just
But I
gotta
think,
you gotta assess the situation, figure out what your odds are, and go from there.
yeah,
Right
Every single
on.
situation, because you have to assess, are they good cops, a good character, and you can walk away from this, or are they doing something wrong and
Right.
you need to stand your ground? And
That's
that comes at a great price and risk.
what you just said. I hope some people see on recording or live, because that's probably the smartest thing that came out of this broadcast.
but
Then
I'm
we
not
suck,
kidding.
dude. If that's the smartest thing, we suck. Because that's just
I don't know.
That's flat out
practical.
street smarts. That has nothing to do with the Bible.
That's what I mean, though. That's yeah.
Wait, doesn't
that's
that go back to go along, get along? What
Yes,
we were
it
talking
really
about earlier?
does. See,
You got to be able to assess.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Is
as
this
for
going to
me,
be
fellas,
is this going to be worth it?
Yeah.
as for me, I'm gonna have to call it a night. I still gotta make
Same.
dinner for my roommate.
Same. Go do it.
But
All right,
Uncle
well-
Krusty, anytime you want to drop in and chat with us, bro, you're more than welcome. It was really good talking to you. I enjoyed the
likewise,
conversation.
man. It's good seeing you again. It's good to see you. Look healthy. You look happy.
I try. You know what I mean?
Are you trying?
What's
I
that?
tell you, what's your roommate's name?
Bernie.
Bernie, hello, and thank you for liking my show. You can stop
I
in
think
and
she likes your music.
you
You're
can
quite
stop
welcome.
in. What kind of music?
All of it.
Really?
On your show, she loves it.
I play all. I know I play all kind of different kinds, but if there's something special you like, you just let me know, and I'll be happy to play it. Just give me the artist and song title in the chat, and I will be happy to play it for you anytime.
Okay. I can't think of anything right off the top of my head, but
That's all right. I got plenty of shows for you to have time to think on it.
okay.
Much love, my friend.
All right.
All right,
Bye.
guys. Hey, next week, people. I don't know if there's anybody still in the chat, but if there is,
10,
next week,
13.
Black Yoda out.
Right on.
God bless you all. Right
Good
on,
night.
man.
Good night. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for calling in, Uncle Krusty.
No problem. Hey, if you ever want me on, just let me know. I'll put stuff aside to be on your show because I like talking to other people.
Yeah.
I can play music anytime.
I think the Sloan Sunday is a good slot, right?
Yeah, the Armor Up is awesome.
And then Friday, we're skipping this Friday because he's doing a band thing.
Okay.
But Friday, Anderson and I do 5:30, 6:30 your time. We do about a half hour of news topics, and then we jump into just random BS after that.
That's 6:30 when?
On Fridays.
6:30 on Friday.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll see about that. I'll try to rememberize that, but that's usually when I'm sleeping.
Yeah.
Or I'm either cooking dinner and taking care of things and then getting a nap before I do my Friday show.
Right.
But if I am up for some reason, then I'll definitely stop on by.
Yeah, I think you have a couple times. You've at least blitzed through the chat. And I want to say we chatted one time, but maybe it was a Wednesday.
I think it was a Wednesday. Yeah, it was a Wednesday. But I don't want to the one thing that concerns me the most is that I don't want to take you off track of what your show's about.
Yeah, I understood. I made a conscious decision of pretty open forum for the Wednesday show.
Okay.
And what I ended up doing was I put all my notes in the first 20 minutes. So I make sure it's all said then, and then I just kind of sit back and I'll try to look for opportunities to tie in. But,
some of that worked though, because what I had said earlier about you have to know your past and the anger of destroying our history and then what we're living with now and what our future, a lot of that it wove together.
It did.
It went back and forth like a weaving because it eventually everything I think that we discussed did tie together in some way.
Yeah.
It was very nice, my friend. You wrapping it up?
Oh yes, and yeah. I missed one of the words you said on that last sentence. If I look vacant.
Oh, that's okay. No, that's okay. It's 3:47, so I can't start a show now because the resets at 4:30. So yeah, I can maybe start one right after 4:30 and jam out some tunes.
Well, hopefully Rev heard that. He's in the chat asking, "When's your show?"
Yeah, I know, Rev.
We let Rev down.
That guy rides my balls like nobody else.
That's awesome.
I love him though.
He keeps us straight.
I love him. He's a good guy. He's a great guy, and you're all fantastic. It's great to be back with Black Yoda touchpads with him again, and it's always good to see you, G. Ross. You're a superhero, man. Keep up with those kids, would you please?
Will do.
Right on. Good night, my friend.
Good night. All right, team. What just happened? A long show. Let's get our outro music going. Let's get our camera back. Team Extreme. What just happened? Well, the scratching. Oh, you know what? Let's play. Let's do this. Let's this is terrible. I want to play the phone animation because Uncle Krusty gave the phone a long time ago.
Hello?
All right, that was the phone animation with its little glitch. I don't know why it does that. That's for when Uncle Krusty gave the phone. Speaking of that, we have a scratching to release. Exactly that amount. I'm releasing them. So we have, as you just heard, no show this Friday because there's a band concert that I will be watching Mr. Anderson do right at that time. So no show this Friday. But Armor Up on Sunday at 9. Back here on Wednesday at 11 Central Time, I'm speaking for the rest of Chapter 41 of Genesis. I'm going to play the outro slate, but it's going to lie to you about this Friday. There is no this Friday. While I'm tearing down the rest of the green screen, I'm going to go crash the Sloan chat and say hi. So I will see you all over there. And I have one more thing to say. I love you all. Thank you for spending time with G. Ross on the Foxhole.app. And remember, you are the underscore. Catch us on the Foxhole.app, Rumble, DLive, Twitch, Twitter, and sometimes Facebook. Current shows include the Bread Pill Weekly. You've been red pilled, now be the red pill. You're fully baked and ready for delivery on our weekly alternative news roundup every Friday at 5:30 p.m. Central, co-hosted by G. Ross and Mr. Anderson. Current shows include Armor Up with Sloan, Rev, and G. Ross, a support group for the spiritual war, Sunday at 9 p.m. Central on G. Ross and Sloan TV. Weapons we've discovered so far include prayer and also the letting go of political correctness. Current shows include 9dNation, the nation with no denomination. Declare to the custom agents any edible plants or miscellaneous worldviews. Join this Bible reading and discussion group that often goes off the rails. Start time at 11 p.m. Central on Wednesdays with co-host Black Yoda. Catch us on the Foxhole.app, Rumble, DLive, Twitch, Twitter, and sometimes Facebook. Our Friday co-host is Mr. Anderson. This has been G. Ross, and you are the underscore.